Bird, 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 bird. Get him. Yeah! Ron Babe was right. Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Hey everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. It is May the 16th, and I'm just giddy. I'm just giddy this week. I'm telling you, everything's just been flying along. Had the best Zoom room ever. For those of you who don't know what that is, I know most of you do. Anybody who's a Patreon patron of mine, they join up. You can go to the website and join up, or you can go to patreon.com and look up Hunting Dog By. If you can't figure that out, you're probably not going to be a patron anyway. Anyway, we had our Zoom room last Thursday. We had a nice crowd. A lot of people learned a lot of things. I can't answer all the questions, and it's getting to be a very, very solid group of people. Some of us are going to get together and hunt next year. Some people have joined chapters in NAVDA while they're on there talking to another person who's, starting a new chapter. It's really morphed into a great little community of those diehard fans of the show who, are philanthropic enough to pay a couple bucks a month or a few bucks a month for a completely free show. And they get a lot of discounts, like my title sponsor, Pike Gear. There's a standing discount right now on the Patreon page. Pike Gear is technical clothing for the upland hunter. They just released the Northcut pants. I absolutely love them. Just like all Pike Gear, it fits and it moves. It doesn't bind. It doesn't slow you down. And the Northcut is like the super duty. Like the first one was regular duty. The other one was medium duty. This is super duty. Super duty brush pants for hunting or training or whatever you want. But they fit like everything Pike makes. They fit you. Just like Gunner Kennels fit your dog. They got a kennel for every dog size, okay? They got 4 different kennel sizes. They have one. I'm waiting for the second size food crate. That's what I'm waiting for. Gunner Kennels, everything procured, assembled, shipped, everything 100% USA driven, USA built, guaranteed for life. Gunner Kennels and food crates. If you buy one, you only have to buy one. You don't have to buy another one later on. Everything they make is guaranteed for the life. I actually don't know if it's for your life or the life of the product, but that probably wouldn't matter unless it's going to be in your will. Canine Athlete, they're making products for your dogs. I'm starting to see a lot more advertisements in magazines. It's really catching on. I'm hearing about it on other podcasts. I'm really glad that they jumped on board. Wilderness Athlete, they've been making supplements for runners and athletes and hunters and whatever you are, and they decided to put out the Canine Athlete line. New dog, hydrate and recover, and probiotics. It is something that you want to take care of your dog. You want to put him in a safe kennel, you put him in a gunner. You want to give your dog a little something extra, you give him some Canine Athlete products. But don't overlook the Wilderness Athlete products for yourself. Their energy and focus and hydrate and recover. My wife is now totally addicted to it, and I'm not even going to tell you why. She had one the other day, and she's like, all right. She goes, I don't care if we get a discount code. She goes, I just ordered some more. There. If Sue says it, it's got to be right. Waltons. Hey, we're going to do another Waltons Instagram here pretty soon. My daughter in a couple weeks. We're going to take a recipe that I saw in a magazine. We're going to make some pheasant cordon bleu nuggets, and we're going to do that with the Waltons recipe. Waltons has everything but the meats. Get a hold of their catalog. Go to Waltons online, and when you're on there, it's going to ask you where you heard about it, okay? Let them know that you heard about getting this. I know most of you can just cruise through your phone and you can look at it all, but I tell you sometimes when you're just sitting there and this thing is as thick as I don't know, what magazine can I relate it to? Almost as thick as a Playboy magazine. That's probably not really politically correct these days. It is a catalog. They do have literally, I don't care if it's knife sharpeners, spoons, forks, bowls, but their spices and their products will do everything for you except shoot the bird for you because they got everything but the meats. CZ USA, same thing. They've got everything you could possibly need except the place to go use it. Look no further for your next shotgun. Pump, auto, crowdsourced, side-by-side, over-unders, turkey guns, Cerakote, magnets in the chambers for the break-open guns. If they haven't thought of it, it'll be out next year. I guarantee it. So look no further for your next shotgun. Onyx Maps, know where you stand. Onyx Maps is going to get a really, really good plug on this episode. I interviewed a couple of game wardens. They came over to the kennel, and they get a unabashed 100% real-time commercial from the Michigan game wardens that were here. They live on Onyx Maps. You know where you stand. Now the game wardens know where you stand too. Purina Pro Plan. What are you waiting for? I mean, what are you waiting for? 9 out of 10 champion dogs. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. That's a lot. Like if this was an election, I got a feeling you'd call that a landslide. Purina Pro Plan is the landslide of. I'm gonna have to give it a new tagline. It's the landslide of dog food choices. Yeah, been feeding my dogs forever. Garmin products, one word says it all. You hear the word Garmin, it's like if you like music back in the day, you heard the word Prince or Cher. They don't need a last name. They don't even need a tagline. I gave it the tagline. Everything you could use for your travels, for your hunting, for your personal health, Garmin products got you covered from your wrist to your dog's neck, to your dashboard, to your airplane and your boat. Can't. Well, that's what I said. One word says it all. Yeah. And listen, also, if you have not subscribed yet and you're a Patreon patron to Shooting Sportsman Magazine, go back in the post. Look up on your homepage. Look under posts, and you will find the deepest discount ever on Shooting Sportsman Magazine. It's all about birds, guns, dogs, people, and places, which is what we're all about. So this episode, this is a dandy. Anna Cullen and Jackie Miskovich. I said that wrong, Jackie. I'm sorry. Anyway, they are Muskegon County game wardens, and they came over to the kennel here last week and told us about the process to become a game warden, told us some stories, how they started, what it's like, things to do, things not to do, like don't run when they start running after you. It's really not good. Just adds another charge to the ticket, you know. Don't elude the officer. Hey, if you did something wrong, believe me, if I was pulled over by these people, I would still have all the respect. You know, usually you get pulled over, you're like, oh, what happened? If you knew one of these two gals was going to walk up to your window and ask you a question, you would feel like, wow, professional. I was honored to meet them. I'm honored to have their numbers in my speed dial, and I hope I don't have to call them up for anything except maybe those rotten little kids that trespass behind my house on the pipeline. They might get a few calls from me for there. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Jackie and Anna, Michigan game wardens, enjoy. Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. I had a surprise visit. Well, not really a surprise visit, but I had two game wardens pull up to the kennel here. But I was actually fortunate enough to meet one of them about a week ago. Her name is Anna Cullen. And one of her partners is Jackie Miskovich. Got that right, Jackie?
Yep, you did.
And I invited them to come over the kennel, and I thought they were going to come over like recreating, but no, you pulled up with the lights on and I told my wife to close the freezer. Don't let anybody check the freezer. And, but anyway, Anna, I met you at the FedEx thing, and you and I were actually there doing the same thing. We were shipping a firearm.
Yep, we were.
On the same day, and I was bold enough to say, hey, could you stand outside for a minute? Let me ask you a question. And everyone knows that we had Pete Kaling on here, and it was a real good podcast with Michigan DNR. And I've always wanted to interview game wardens. And so I was lucky enough to get both Anna and Jackie to come on today, and they came over today. And we're just going to kind of get their career path and get into the weeds about pulling people over, what not to do, how to learn to swim. Maybe this isn't the right career path. We'll just get into everything. So, and start with you, your background story a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Muskegon County. I born and raised here. So I work where I'm from, which is interesting. But I always knew that I wanted to go into criminal justice in some way, shape, or form. So I pursued that at Grand Valley, got my degree with that. Still wasn't 100% sure what direction I wanted to go. and worked some security positions, built my resume up, and then the position just kind of presented itself to me, and I thought it was perfect. I don't know so you have general law enforcement, which, they're in their vehicles a lot. They pull people over, domestic violence and all that type of stuff. And then you have us, which we do all that, but we're outside. We can, we decide what we want to do with our day. Our position changes seasonally. Hunting seasons change. So
Sure, fishing seasons open and close, and
exactly.
Yeah.
So we can plan our days out. So that was really interesting to me that we had that freedom to do that. So that's when I was like, yeah, this is definitely something I want to do. And then it just so happened that they were hiring. So I reached out to a recruiter, and he's like, give it a month, and then we're going to put the application out on the state website. So I continued to work for a month, and I did all my application process stuff. Took like 9 months, the whole process. It takes forever, but it's so worth it once you get in. You gotta still go through all the academy and the training part of things, but which you're looking at like a year of training. But it just seemed perfect for everything that I like, which was being outdoors, enforcing laws, criminal justice, and in that stance, and then and just being able to make your own schedules. And
so it wasn't from a
people.
fishing infraction as a kid thinking you're going to get even with everybody.
Right. No, I didn't want to get back at anybody. No, that's definitely not it.
So, and then Jackie, that dog is going to make a lot of noise. If I let that dog out, it's going to be on one of your laps. I'm telling you, it's a pain.
I wouldn't be mad about that.
We are both dog lovers.
If she keeps it up, we're going to have to let Taffy out. Jackie, you came from the area of the state where I would expect a game warden to come from, but what was your career path? Because I thought it was pretty funny.
So I came from the Western UP by the Porcupine Mountains. I went to college for accounting at Western Michigan University, and I had internships in finance. Found out I didn't really care for the accounting world and finance world, so I transitioned into supply chain for a manufacturing facility. And I was just sitting there and did not want to be there for the rest of my life. I didn't want to sit at a desk and just stare at blank walls. I wanted to see the outside.
And you grew up outside.
I grew up outside.
Yeah.
I spent hours, like all the time. I didn't really play many video games. We had our video games on bad days, but we were outside. We were outside four-wheeling, outside walking.
Swimming,
we
whatever.
had horses. We had cows. We had...
How early? When was the first time you went to the Paulding Lights?
I was actually, I'm sure I went earlier, but I don't remember going until I was like probably 16.
Yeah.
So, it's like 25 miles away from my house.
When you said Porcupine Mountains, I knew that area. I'm like, oh, you had to go there as a kid. You had to go there.
That's like 25 miles from my house. And
so give us this. What is it, Jackie? What is the Paulding Lights?
I don't know. Like Michigan Tech has done some studies on it, and like the supernatural people that do those shows did a study on it, and they think it's like cars cresting a hill, but it's just so.
It's so not. It's so not when you go there. My first trip up to Paulding, we were hunting around Robbins Pond up there.
Yeah.
And somebody told us about it, and we said, oh, we got to go see the Paulding Lights, And then you really kind of believe it because there's a big U.S. Forest Service sign up there.
Yep.
You're like, this is a real thing. And you're sitting there, and then you see like a light come on, and it does. If it's a car on a road, I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
how
come I never see 2 cars and 3 cars in a row?
Yeah.
How come I don't see a brake light? I see a red light, but I never see the brake lights. I believe in it. I'm a believer. But everybody from the UP is a little wacky anyway. Let's be honest.
I didn't.
Jackie, there's a famous movie and you know it.
Yeah, we're a little unique. If you want to live up there, you have to be a little special.
Yeah.
So, I miss it up there, but I love it down here. But yeah, so getting back to how I ended up, I contacted a CO that I used to babysit for.
Up in the UP.
Yeah, up in the UP. He had changed positions, so he had moved. And he told me the process for what I had to go through. Took a couple of years due to health issues, but then I had surgery in November, applied in like probably January, and was even asked during my interview, why were you so late in applying? And I was like, well, I just had surgery in November, and I wasn't sure if I'd make it.
Didn't know if they'd put me through boot camp with recent surgery.
But then I applied, and I got in. I love nature. I love keeping people safe.
Yeah.
It's just seeing people and interacting with them in nature.
See, I always had that dream job too, but I was always like, I don't know if it was game warden, but it was something outside, and then I just got into construction and I lost myself.
I mean, you're still outside.
I'm outside, the door's open. But, so anyway, I had this great question to just ask you, and I was thinking, so when you talk about going to the academy, right? Now, where's the academy at? Are you going there with the state police, local police? What kind of a class is that?
Well, for our school, and for schools previous to us, we train simultaneously with MSP.
Okay.
But that just means we trained in the same building as their...
And that's over by Lansing?
Yes, they're MSP people. Yeah. So, I mean, they would have their classrooms, their lecture halls. We would have our separate classes.
Okay.
We have our separate instructors. We march separately, but we just were on a floor in the MSP building.
You just happen to, that's where it is.
That's just where we train. We use their drive track. We use their tank for swim. And we used all their facilities, but we didn't train or go to class with them or anything like that. So we did all of our, our general criminal stuff. We had all of our wildlife classes that we went through, and they had all of their separate stuff that they did.
They had to know the difference between cocaine and meth, and you had to know the difference between a sharp-tailed grouse and a rough grouse.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was I'm just trying to picture, how many officers did they put through at a time? It wasn't just the two of you, right?
No.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that would have been terrible.
And these would these all be Michigan game wardens going for the same thing, or would they bring in other states or anything?
No,
It's
Michigan.
All Michigan.
Yeah.
So what kind of class size was that roughly?
We had 30 that started and 24
made it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started with 8 females and 22 males.
Yeah.
And then 6 females and 18 males. Is that right? Is that math right?
Was it the swimming course that made anybody drop out?
There
Yeah,
was
we
a
lost a
few.
couple.
There was a few that we lost at that point.
Yeah.
You guys have to do. You're not Navy SEALs, but you got to be really competent in the water.
Yes.
I mean,
By the end of it, we felt like it.
Yeah. You got to be really comfortable and get really comfortable in the water.
If you fall in, you can't just go under, and you got to still help somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. They're relying on you. If you get stuck, then okay. Now we have to rescue 2 people. So,
And then what about the firearms training? Is that on their course and everything else? Do you have to just like any
Grayling.
other to Grayling for that?
Yeah, we went to Grayling for our long arms, right? And then
yes.
for pistols, we stayed at the MSP.
They have their
Yep.
own range there.
Yep.
Yes. Indoor.
Yeah.
And when you said the driving course, you mentioned a driving course. So all these years I've been working in Michigan, I go down I-96,
Yep.
and I see that. Really, I don't know if I'm sure dozens of my listeners have seen it, but the rest of them haven't. And the rest of the country hasn't. There's this huge parking lot, and you always see state police, MSP, vehicles out there.
Yep.
And if you catch it just right, they'll have sprinklers on, and you see these cars just,
The slick track.
yeah, they're spinning out and they're accelerating super fast. Was that fun or was it scary?
That was fun.
I
knew it would be fun.
absolute blast. If you do not like adrenaline rushes in this job, I mean you're not in the right position, because I mean that is pure fun right there. But you still need to think about what you're doing though. So it's not like it's still a skill.
Right.
Yeah.
So
right.
you're still learning how the vehicle reacts, how it reacts to the environment around you, and how you should react, because it's kind of creating like a muscle memory type thing.
Right. So you just know to make
What
the
to
right
do.
move instead of the wrong move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're hydroplaning,
Which
you
is
don't-
what I got to see a lot of.
Yeah.
I'd almost want to be like, you know what? If we could park on the shoulder, we could be late for the job. I'm the boss.
Right.
I want to see one of these cars go spinning out and go into the grass, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if any of our section went off in the grass, did they?
I think we had one person. This wasn't during the slick track, but this was during when
The
we
road
were,
test.
we were doing speed. I think we had one person go off the track.
Yeah.
But
It's not bad.
no.
I mean, they didn't like go tumbling off.
Yeah.
They just like hit the gravel and
They got a
came
little
back on.
demerit
Maybe
under.
Yeah.
hit the grass.
They got
Not
marked
sure.
out.
Right. Don't mess up the grass.
Yeah.
The landscaping crew really hates it when they have to go
Yeah.
fix up your
yeah,
messes.
for sure.
So, okay, so you got firearms training, you got the animal side of it, you got the swimming side of it. What else is in academy for that?
Marine school.
Okay. I mean, boat familiarity and.
Yep, which
Yeah.
that's actually after the academy.
Okay,
Is
so
Marine school.
so the whole process, how long did it take? Like from when you're like, I'm here, to when you were out on a
By
out on your-
ourselves?
yeah,
A year.
a full year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 months in the academy, and it's all a live-in academy. And
Oh, you stay right there.
Yep. Stay
Like a-
there all week. You get to go home on Friday evenings, and you come back Sunday afternoons. So you get like 24 hours to kind of relax and then prepare yourself for the next week. So
Right.
yeah, so it's 6 months in the academy, and then following the academy, graduate, get your truck, and then you have 6 months of field training. So that's a whole
And is
nother
that
year.
with another officer?
Yeah.
Well, it's broken up into 3 steps. So you should realistically have 3 separate officers throughout the
Right.
state. So you can go to the UP, you can go to the Upper East, you can go wherever they send you
Yeah.
to get just different training experiences,
Right.
essentially.
Was it any of that? Did any of it at some point be go like, I don't know if I signed up for this, or was it just that? Because it's like me, I'm like,
Yeah.
I want a time machine. I want to go back, apply my. I want to apply myself in high school, which I didn't do. I might try college, which I didn't do. I want to be a game warden now. You know? I want to get to drive the car on the wet track.
Right.
But
I never second guessed anything that I.
The only time I ever second guessed was during Water Week.
Really?
It was like, am I cut out for this? Like, can I do this? And
you could
just-
swim probably as a kid, like just
Yeah.
jump in the
Yeah.
lake
Yeah.
or go skiing.
Yeah.
But it was like an hour by hour thing. It's like, girls, let's make it. When we were like huddled in the locker room, it's like we've got an hour till this, another hour till that.
Yeah, you have to mentally break it up, and we were lucky because we had more females. Like there've been classes before us, so obviously like separate locker rooms and
Sure.
stuff. And so there were classes before us that there's one female in that class.
Yeah.
So that one female, she's got to give herself pep talks.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
could you imagine like
No.
just being alone and so luckily we had a great support system in our class, and we gave each other pep talks before
Yeah.
every single hour of water week.
And one of them would be during Water Week, a lot of pep talks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Water
yeah,
Week was,
it was
definitely.
a lot of tears, but
Yeah.
it's at the end of it, you're just like,
I did
heck
that.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you feel so great
Yeah.
afterwards because it's like you impressed.
That's probably why the
yourself.
sailors always got in fights after boot camp. You know,
Maybe.
they finally get done with boot camp and they're like, I'm ready to fight somebody.
Yeah, their ego is just like
Yeah.
sky high. It felt great. I think that was.
And then what about
great.
like PT? There's a PT portion of it too, I'm sure.
PT is all the time.
Well, swimming would be. I mean, swimming is certainly like to me the hardest PT there is. You know.
Yeah.
But so that's incorporated in your day too the whole
Yep.
time. What
Yeah.
about this is near and dear to my heart. I don't know if you saw my heavy bag standing outside by the thing, but what about self-defense? Is that all part of it too?
It
Oh
is.
yeah.
Is
Yep.
it?
Oh yeah. We would have ST training. I don't really remember.
Survival tactics.
Oh, yeah.
Survival
That's what, yep.
tactics.
A lot of other departments call it defensive tactics.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
DT.
I don't really
ST.
remember our schedule throughout the academy because I think it was certain days.
I think they just scattered it whenever they could get the instructors in.
Yeah.
Because it was different instructors than our normal instructors would come in and
Right.
teach us.
They'd be specialists in
Yeah.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we would definitely devote a lot of time to that.
But it was throughout the whole academy, so we never really lost what we were learning.
Right.
So.
They just mixed it in like,
Yep.
okay, let's throw in this, let's throw in that. But by the time you're done with that year, you even have a pretty good feel of like, not I'm going to go take that world on, but like, I know what to do if somebody pushes me. I know what to do if,
Yep.
that would be, and I, like I said, I'm a lifelong martial artist. And people don't realize how scary it is when you're put in those situations.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there are people who are like, "Oh, if he ever walks up my door, I'll punch him in the face." Yeah. And there's people that would freeze, you know, let alone be able to stop the punch on the other side.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely. People rarely take into account that their heart rate is going to skyrocket,
and their knees can lock up, and all kinds of adrenaline rushes and stuff like that.
Yep, and they try to replicate that as much as possible because that's good training.
If you just do it in a karate class, there's just nothing there.
Right.
You've got to do some physical one-on-one combat and
and we had it where a lot of us we're dealing with a lot bigger people, so like taller people, like more, especially females, were a little bit smaller, more petite, usually. But we had a 5'2" girl against what was called
he's 6'6".
Yeah, like 6'6", totally different, and she just kicked his butt.
Really?
Yeah, so that was pretty cool that you could show that with those tactics that they gave us, you can, if you use them correctly.
Right. And then with that, they don't give you a belt, right? They don't give you a belt, right?
No.
Just let you know, I'm blue belt in jiu-jitsu, black belt in Kempo, brown belt. Just so don't get wise with me here.
I mean, there have been times where I would consider just like some secondary, like now that we're, you know, we have ST training seasonally and
so you still have that?
You're always learning. You're always refreshing.
Oh, you don't get to just take a hiatus after you graduate?
No. Firearms, we just had firearms training.
Yeah, firearms training
yesterday.
is usually 3 times a year. ST is usually twice a year. First aid is once a year, I think.
Yep. So but
I never even thought of the first aid. So it's first aid and mixed in there as well then.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to know how. I mean, we have AEDs in our trucks, so I mean, if something happens, you have to be able to know how to use it, when to use it.
It's like no panicking allowed, is it?
Especially with CPR changing so frequently, like you got to keep up on how CPR is doing. Like now, it's like, well, do you give breaths? Do you not? Like, what are you doing?
Chest compressions? No.
Yeah.
Paddles? No. I don't know.
Yeah. So, and then just other continuing education, just like any other job. Yeah. There's always continuing education.
So you guys will have like a whole kit for the, you know, like if somebody needed an EpiPen or something, you'd be.
We don't have it.
They have an EpiPen.
Yeah, well, hopefully they have.
Because that's the first thing I thought about. We were canoeing once with the family when all the girls were little, and my daughters, and there was like two of my daughters in one canoe with me, and then our family and friends had like 2 boys in theirs, and of course they were just being a little more rambunctious, and they ran into the bank and they hit a bee's nest.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it was like, and they didn't know if he was. It turns out he carries an EpiPen.
Thank God.
Oh, good.
But like the dad got stung to pieces trying to cover his kid just because out of defensiveness, you know. Mm-hmm. So I was like, the one thing you don't have is an EpiPen.
No, we don't. We have Narcan.
Yeah, we do have Narcan.
That's
which we just recently got that.
Yeah.
No, what is Narcan for?
Overdoses.
Oh, really?
But it doesn't work on meth, apparently. That's what I just
learned
recently.
I think if you're to the level of meth, maybe you've just hit.
Yeah.
Maybe there's no hope for you anyway. But really, so you'd have something in there if there was an overdose.
Yeah.
And
sometimes
crazy.
like we're the closest. So especially for officers up in the UP, I mean, I would say
they're very diverse.
Yeah,
up there.
they don't have very many general law enforcement up there. So game wardens they respond to the general complaints. So,
really?
So overdoses in the area. So I would say on even like the northern lower part of the state as well, like they respond to a lot more general complaints.
So you could call 911 and you could get a game warden.
Absolutely, yeah. We run normal like county dispatch just like every other officer.
Really?
So we can hear fire dispatch in the general county dispatch as well. So but yeah, I would say it's more common up in the upper areas of the state. That
less populated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like here in Muskegon County, there's so much. There's such a police presence.
Right. Every township's got except Twin Lake.
Yeah.
Except Twin Lake.
So now I will have you guys on speed dial.
I think you have a PINS car though, so I think you have that in this area.
Yeah.
So what is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's like your township or something pays for a car to be in your township.
Oh.
So they're around the area.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, they're not here.
Where are they?
I don't know where they're at. We don't have a donut shop. I couldn't pass up a donut joke. Yeah.
I love donuts.
She's the donut person. Well, yeah, I guess I shouldn't talk to you.
A good donut and a cup of coffee. Nothing wrong with that.
I was going to bring coffee, but no, we figured.
It's
Too late. It's too late in the day for me. I'd be up all night.
Same. Same.
So you get done with this whole thing, this whole year of like soup to nuts. Like you're halfway a paramedic. You're halfway a marine. A boat captain in a sense. That you did you have to get a boat license or a like.
I mean, we took marine safety.
Marine safety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But did you have to get familiar with different boats and things like that and the whole 9 yards?
Especially with us too, because we have.
This is
We
big water
have
country.
big water, so
big water here.
we have a big water boat. Mm-hmm. We have a 26-foot safe boat with a cabin on it.
Does that patrol all the
engines.
time out here, or is that just a seasonal patrol with the water?
That's in usually during the summer. If we have to put it out during the winter, we will. But we haven't had to.
Right.
That I know of. I don't know if the old guys have or not. But
The old guys. These are the
love that.
young gals and the old guys.
The newbies.
Well, that's another
They're
thing. It's very apparent that we have 2 women game wardens here. Is that, and you said you had 8 in the class and 6 made it. Mm-hmm. Like statewide, is it a pretty big contingency?
We've got about 21 was my I think actually one retired, so I think it's only about 20 female officers throughout the state.
Right.
And there's only one other county with 2 female officers. So
Who are partners.
Right.
Yep, who are partners.
And you run north and you run south or something like that?
Yep.
But
Yep.
you intermingle if
yeah.
if you need help on something.
Yep.
Yeah, we never share days off, so there's always somebody on, always somebody working that day. So that's why I'm like, there's
So
a
you
lot of
two can
overlap.
actually kind of schedule, basically.
I mean, we have our schedule by our sergeant, but we can talk to each other and say, oh, I need this day off. Sometimes we can switch it, but we try not to do that too often so we
Just
don't
keep
screw with the schedule too much.
Right.
But there's
What-
always someone on.
So for your first, okay, I'm not saying it doesn't have to be a funny story because you might not have had, maybe you haven't chased anybody, 3 miles with a doe on their shoulder yet or anything. But so I want to hear from each of you, like, what was your first, like, okay, this is it. I'm asking this person if they have a light, or I saw somebody do something. What was your first, like, act of being a game warden?
Oh man, what was my first?
I mean,
act?
you may not be able to remember, but I'm sure there's 1 or 2 early ones that you're like, okay.
Well, I got this complaint one time. This was one that got my adrenaline like up, and it. I had gotten this phone call from somebody, and it was like, hey, there's this. We have a lot of, like, in the county, we have a lot of protected property that's, like, almost kind of like a wildlife refuge in a sense that where only select people have permission to.
You mean like the wastewater or something? Would
Yeah,
that be?
so, like, equivalent to the wastewater.
Okay.
Nugent Sands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a complaint on there that the waters in Nugent Sands. So there's like 2 like separate ponds, and they are filled with the biggest perch you've ever seen in your life.
Uh-oh.
Like-
Maybe we ought to edit this
Yeah.
because you're going to have more work on your hands.
They're opening it up now.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I guess something happened where it's going to be acquired, supposedly.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we might need to bleep that out.
Yeah.
So.
But you get a call.
Well, I got a complaint. They're like, hey, there are 2 people out here. They're out there fishing right now. They're ice fishing. Mm-hmm. And I can see where they came in and blah, blah, blah. So I, raced over there. And, I mean, you can see them right there. They passed all these no trespassing signs. And the only way around this lake is like, so if this is the lake
Yeah.
and they're right here, there's a gate right here. That's the only way a truck can enter.
Right.
They can't enter back here. They can't,
Yeah, I know that back property pretty good.
Yeah. So the only way I can enter is with them seeing me.
Right.
So I remember the guy that was escorting me. He slowed down because the guys were running.
One of the employees of Nugent Sand.
was escorting me out there.
Right.
And I yelled at him. I'm like, they are running. You need to speed up or get out of my way. And so
They were actually running off the ice?
they were sprinting off the ice. And
I hope they fell.
oh my gosh, they grabbed all their stuff and they were just like hightailing it off the ice. And I mean, it's not like a little ledge, it's an embankment. So
Right.
they're running up this hill and I could see them. And so this guy scooted over his truck and I just ran over there. And I stop my truck and I just start screaming at the top of my lungs, like, "Game warden, let me see your hand!" Like, and you could just see, like, I was following their tracks in the snow.
Right.
They
So they're
dropped their
still trying to
buckets.
elude you.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're still trying to run. They dropped their buckets, dropped their sleds, dropped everything.
Oh.
And I mean, it's just filled with perch. And they're just like, and I mean, I could literally see where we were standing, like the no trespassing signs.
Right.
So I think that was like the first one.
That's a great first one.
And that I
Yeah.
just, like, my adrenaline got so high, and I was just, at the end of it, you know, we had all, like, the perch laid out, and it was like,
Do you have to take pictures of everything?
oh, yeah, you
and
gotta
all
evidence
that?
and all that good stuff. And in the state of Michigan, they get charged per fish. So,
Oh.
especially with that.
Per
like,
fish or per pound, depending on.
yeah, but
they're bigger
so if it's like a salmon, for example.
Yeah,
they'll
that's a
get
bigger
charged-
fine than a
Well,
1
they'll
pound
get
perch.
charged per pound.
Per
for
pound.
salmon,
Yeah,
not per
$10 per
fish.
pound.
Right.
So with the perch specifically, they'll get charged per fish. So yeah, there's 3 separate individuals, but that was a fun one.
Yeah. Then now obviously we're not going to go into who or what. Are you talking? But younger people or?
Older guys, they said they've been doing it for years.
See, we talked about that before we hit record. Like both of your dads are my age, I'm sure, right? I'm in my 60s.
Yeah.
And you said like, yeah, my dad used to sometimes do this before that, and then I better go get it. Oh, you know what? We're going hunting tomorrow. I better go get my tag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these guys it was kind of like there's a saying. I remember whose dad said it, but I'll leave his name off of it. He says, "Look, if it wasn't posted when I was a kid, it's not trespassing." So maybe when Nugent Sand didn't have the second pond in, maybe they just like, this is ridiculous. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
But it's not their taxes paid for it at that point, and there was no easement to it.
Exactly.
That had to be.
It was fun, and you know, it's fun. I think I had like a city PD there just to kind of like watch them for me, and it was a sergeant.
What do you do with all the evidence and like fish in that case?
So normally, especially with that much, we'll do our best to donate it.
Okay, well, that's
we'll
cool.
find we have a list, accumulated.
Bear Lake Tavern.
Yeah, right.
I always thought that was good perch.
Yeah, now you know where it comes from. No, like missions. So like the homeless. Sometimes
Sure.
their kitchens, they will. I mean, even they'll clean them too, which is
Right,
nice.
you could just say, here, we're donating this,
Yeah,
and they'll
exactly.
feed some families with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it with deer. Taken it to the teen center and you know, allowed them to like, we'll gut it for them, and they'll do like the skinning and the processing of it.
Yeah,
So yeah, we do our best
right.
to donate everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes the missions won't take it, so then we got to find a family. And
Right.
sometimes we'll ask, like I asked a guy one time, like, hey, do you know a family in need that would appreciate this deer that you shot that's illegal? He's like,
So
no.
you're asking the actual perpetrator.
Yep.
Yeah, we
'Cause
can't give
he-
it to them.
Yeah, it's like,
It's not theirs anymore. So
No, it belongs to the people.
yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes they'll give us a lead, and they gave us a good lead for the one I was able to donate.
Yeah.
But
How about your first encounter? It doesn't have to be. You know,
Anna seems to have really good stories. Mine are not. Like she has good stories.
you didn't bust a 12-year-old for one pull over the water,
No,
did you?
no. I just approaching people and talking to them and trying to see if they. Look at their license, and then you're like, wait, what's that? And it's like a short bass or something. And I don't have the stories like she does, like chasing after people. I haven't had to chase after people yet.
I don't know.
Besides
she's
dirt
been kind
bikes.
of
On your
a
first time by yourself,
magnet.
though, was it?
It's nerve-wracking.
That's what I would guess.
Yeah.
Like, breathe deep,
Yep.
stay calm.
Yeah.
Like, there's a procedure here.
It's like,
And then-
what questions do I ask
And
them?
you're always thinking like, I wonder if they're going to run. Or I wonder if they're going to, you know.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I just got an adrenaline rush the other day. It was probably the slowest following, I guess I could say. I was following them. I wasn't really chasing them. It was two dirt bikes going through a property they weren't supposed to. And I was, like, so close to getting them. We were almost on the property where I could actually pull them over. And they were just running from me.
On foot?
No, they were running dirt bikes.
Dirt
It was probably about a 5-mile-an-hour chase or something, because one wasn't really good at riding, so I wasn't really trying to follow close, but I'm trying to go over this berm, and I'm like, I'm gonna make it, and then I was like, that looks a little more pointy than I need it to be, and I second guessed it and just high centered myself.
Did you? You had to get a.
She texts me a picture. She goes, "Are you working?" I'm like, "No."
So you got here. What is that vehicle? That's a Silverado.
Yeah, a Silverado.
So you got it right up on the rocker business.
Yeah, and they
teeter-totter.
saw me crest that berm as they're waiting for me to come over it, and they saw me get high centered, and they just took off, and I was like, ah.
Oh.
Like, it was terrible. But that was fun, just because I mean, they weren't stopping, which now I'm gonna watch for them, but it's stuff like that.
Do you get that kind of thing? Like, you just know there's an area where they know they're not supposed to be, and you could almost count on saying, let's check on that on Tuesday. Let's see if anybody's out there.
Oh, yeah. She has a lot in her part of the county for sure, and like I'd say that's more so common with ORVs. Muskegon County is so busy with ORVs. I mean, we have the Cedar Creek Trail, the one off of Brunswick, the Holton motorcycle loop. I mean, we encourage ORV activity in this county. So
except for on the roadway.
Exactly. Except on the roadway.
In places they're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but we draw them in, and then it's like okay, well,
X% are going to be doing something wrong.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So it's like we
come to Muskegon and ORV. One of you is getting a ticket.
Yeah, but we're gonna find something wrong. Yeah. But Muskegon County is close to ORV on the public roadways, so and forest road, most of the forest roads. So, but yeah, we have the national forest, which a lot of people
Manistee is right here.
Yeah. So that's that attracts a ton of people. But I would say ORV activity, as far as trespassing is concerned, being where you're not supposed to be, is
a huge issue.
Yeah.
That we have, because a lot of people don't realize that most of Muskegon County is close to ORVs, except for some of the townships. There's like Holton Township and Eggleston.
Yeah, there's only certain townships that have ordinances, but
you gotta follow that.
Snowmobile season, is that the nightmare for you guys? Because honestly, I have a vendetta against snowmobiles. I don't understand why they can go up and down every road and go over mailboxes and.
Well, they're not supposed to go over mailboxes.
Well, they do.
I know.
They do.
It says as you enter our county, like, this is a snowmobile friendly. You can ride on the side of the road.
Right.
In Muskegon County.
And so a lot of people are like, well, what's the difference between a snowmobile and an ORV? Like, why can't I ride my side-by-side on the side of the road?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they're
riding
on top of the snow. Like,
they're not generally doing damage.
Can we really justify it?
But
it's
really, you think about it though, like say an ORV, let's say if I have a four-wheeler.
Yeah.
If I try to get from here to the motorcycle loop, I got to go down the road.
Yeah.
Which is illegal.
Yeah.
But once I get there, I'm okay.
Once you get there, you're good.
But if I'm on a snowmobile, I can get there. But it's not like degradation of the asphalt, right? It's just more safety.
That's
why I was trying to figure it out.
Because on an ORV, you're just as open to anything as on a snowmobile. So I think it's just what the township allow and what the county and what people have fought for, essentially. Because
they want that right to do the snowmobiles.
Yep. And I know, like, we have a snowmobile, like, council in Muskegon County. So, like, they put in a lot of work, like, on our trail systems, making sure everything is ready for snowmobile season.
Right.
So, and I'm sure they go to the county board and they're just this is all the work we've done, this is all the funding we have, and they justify it to the county, saying like we should be able to continue to do this. I don't think there's a huge presence with ORVs. I think there's certain townships that are like, we want to ride our quads on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And they're like,
there is no council for the ORV.
Yeah.
This ain't the UP.
Yeah, exactly. UP is like free.
Yeah, it's like free reign.
Yeah, you go up to the UP and like people use four-wheelers and side-by-sides like cars.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like right in the middle of hunting season. There's a bunch of bear hunters in a giant
Yeah.
four-wheel, four-door.
I mean,
With the bear on the hood.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd drive my four-wheeler to town to go to school. We drove our snowmobiles to town, too, when the
Did
bus
ya?
would forget us. Well, they just didn't want to come down our driveway because there was a little bit of snow.
That's problematic sometimes in the UP.
Yeah.
So that's all just regulated by the county then. Like if the county has that kind of recreation,
Yeah.
it's encouraged or discouraged or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we should get into some common, like what's the common things that you, like if there was one thing you did more times in a year than anything, what is it?
Baiting complaints.
Oh my God.
Baiting
Carcass
complaints. Oh,
Carcass complaints,
Carcass
yes.
complaints.
Really?
Yes.
Yes. When it comes to and this is not to offend anybody, but I feel like when everybody sees a dead deer on the side of the road, they immediately assume that it's poached. And
Still to this-
it's
Still,
all of
yeah.
its limbs are going in different directions.
Pretty obvious
and
that
It's a car
Yeah.
deer accident.
and they're like, I know it's poached. I heard a shot or something, and it's like, no, it was absolutely demolished by a vehicle.
Right.
But I mean, nonetheless, we appreciate all of the community complaints that come in. So
Right.
Because there are some that are actually poached.
Right.
Legitimate.
Once in a
Yeah.
while you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, we're on to something. here.
exactly.
Yeah.
So and yeah, carcass complaints. People just dump in stuff where it shouldn't be.
Right.
Get a lot of that in the national forest on state land.
I know, it drives me nuts.
Dead end roads.
Oh.
It's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. So that's pretty common.
Do you so when you said baiting,
Yeah.
okay? That obviously that's controversial because
Oh, yeah.
it was
Baiting and feeding. So it's
You had the biologist on. They probably talked about
I'm
that,
not
right?
baiting, I'm feeding,
which you can't do either.
which you can't do either. But you can have a bird feeder out, but
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
Have to
Yeah.
make a reasonable attempt to keep it away from the deer.
from the deer. Did that add a level of like not work, but of discomfort? Like that was really controversial. I mean, people love baiting, and everybody knows there's some science behind not doing it, and the reason
Yeah.
they didn't do it. But what would you do would somebody literally just say like if I went out in my back, I got 15 acres here, and if I went out to my back corner and I saw a bait pile, and it made me mad, so I could call game warden and say, "You got to figure out who's
Yeah.
who's doing
absolutely. Yeah. And we could 100. That's a legitimate complaint.
this." Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, we'll get. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of the time. Sometimes we'll get people that are mad at their neighbors, and it's like, okay, they have
Oh, there's
bird
little
feed on
feuds
the
going
ground.
on.
Yeah, like that happens sometimes where we have like this. I showed up to this house one time, and it was like the nicest little old lady lived there. And I mean, she had like a wildlife refuge in her front yard. Like it was, I mean, there were trails. There were trails going to her bird feeder. So I mean, it was pretty apparent she was putting stuff on the ground, and that's. But she obviously wasn't doing it for a hunting purpose.
Right.
It was more so.
I like seeing deer
I
in my
like
yard.
seeing deer.
But
I
that's-
like the wildlife.
Can't do that either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to break it to the sweetest woman that she can't see or recreationally feed her little animals
You
anymore.
must have ruined her day, Anna.
Oh, and I heard a lot after that.
I bet she was like the guy from the Muskegon County. That goddamn DNR.
Yeah, she probably had some more words than that for me. Yeah, but no, that happens because I mean, the neighbors get mad because they're eating their hostas and
Right,
you know,
right.
So
Or it's like they're hunters and they can't bait them in, so why is she feeding them?
Right.
Sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I
But-
get a lot of feeding complaints in my section of the county because I'm in the city, and it's just all these people in the city with just little patches of woods, and they're domesticating the deer. I walked up on a guy.
eat out of your hand basically.
I was like, I have video of him feeding the deer, and he's like trying to feed it by hand. And so I went and confronted him, and he's like, I mean, they're not my pets. Like, they're free to go. And I was like, they all just stood up from their beds, which are within 20 feet of us.
Right.
And he's like, well, that one just tried to move away once you walked up here. And I was like, but it's coming back towards me as if I have food. I was like, this isn't normal behavior for wildlife.
No, and just in the survival of it. You know, if that guy quits and there's too many deer there, then you're going to have a bunch of starving deer and more car accidents there.
Yeah. It comes down to the fact that we want wildlife to behave like wildlife should.
Right.
And we want wildlife to stay where wildlife should. That's just a whole nother issue. But we want it to all remain how, nature intended it to be.
Right. What do you do like for depredation stuff? Do you have complaints like deer in cornfields, and do people go to you for like a permit, or is there another process for it?
Yeah,
they go to us and the biologists.
Yep. So they have to go through like an inspection process.
Try to come up with a plan for how to knock numbers down.
I more get them for like beaver and muskrats.
Yeah. Like just they're like nuisance.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Damage permits.
It's like a damage permit.
So they get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And say, I need to. What's their course? Do they have to trap it, or is there other means that they can use if they're?
Depends on where they are.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So like in the city, in Muskegon City, you can't discharge a firearm because we're so close and stuff.
Oh, they do.
You're like,
Jackie, apparently you don't live in Muskegon. You don't live in Muskegon, do you?
So they're not supposed to.
Not supposed to. Oh, that's
so
right.
it's like we can't let them discharge a firearm to shoot them, but in other parts, in the more rural parts, like maybe in Twin Lake area here, we could say if you can see it, if you have a safe spot and you can shoot it, you can shoot it, but you have to be designated that on your permit.
Right.
Otherwise,
so
it's
like
trapping.
if I had a beaver blocking up a drainage on my property, you could actually give me a permit or a tag or something to get rid of that beaver.
Yeah, if it was outside the season.
Outside the season.
Yeah.
And then what would they do? Is it up to them to discard of it, or do you guys have to do any responsibility?
We can
on that
designate
end?
how you discard of it.
Can you?
Discard it, yeah.
Yep.
Certainly don't put it in the ditch.
Yeah, don't put it
because
in a dead
because
end.
the phone's going to ring again that somebody poached a beaver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that just adds something that we don't need on our plate. So.
Right.
But we just had one come in for like woodpeckers.
Really?
A facility was having woodpeckers damage their poles or something, and that's
not a power company, wasn't it? Or like a
No, it was I don't want to say who it is.
Right.
But it was
It was a woodpecker problem.
Yes, it was a woodpecker problem that is causing thousands of dollars of damage. So, but that's not something we really regulate. It's a non-game species, and they're more migratory.
I didn't think of that.
So then that would go up to the feds.
Okay, now
who would
handle that then? In that case.
I contacted the feds.
Okay.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
And does U.S. Fish and Wildlife also have wardens out there?
Yeah. I think we only have one or two.
Yeah, we have a couple.
Like fish and game wardens.
Right.
But then they have forest officers as well.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And honestly, I think, at least me personally, I've kind of communicated more so with the forestry officers, because with having the national forest, I mean, you constantly get cutting complaints, and especially during firewood season, people are cutting wood where they shouldn't be. So, and then we get roped into that because they don't have a lot of officers in this area. So,
right.
But no, we try to communicate with them as much as we possibly can, and they do a really good job at working with us.
Can we give Onyx Maps a plug? Do you guys use Onyx?
Yes.
Do you?
Onyx.
I knew there would be a tie-in here to one of my sponsors.
Yeah, we do use Onyx. I use that quite frequently.
I recommend to a lot of people that we come in contact with, especially with wreck trespass situations.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it's so easy to. I mean, at least if you've got that, you're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe the line isn't 100% on the line, but it gives you an idea of like, okay, if
you're
go
10 yards within.
Yeah, if I go 30 yards that way, I'm on somebody else's property, so I'm not going to go get that deer, and I am going to ask for permission. So it definitely. I use Onyx. I actually have it pulled up. I'm doing you a favor right now.
Okay,
you're welcome.
Good.
I have it pulled up on my truck as I drive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like when I'm going through, so I can see like the public land in the area.
Right.
So I'll turn on like the tracking thing where it'll actually like move as you drive.
Right.
And if I'm going past any public land or anything, especially for like ORVs, I'll
Yeah, because there's checkerboarded privates in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and you can put on those filters. So I'll make a special attempt to like go on the public land and check it, and it helps people familiarize themselves and get used to where things are and where they can be.
Yeah.
I guess, if that makes sense.
And it's good, like if you find somebody who is using it, it's good for making cases. It's like, well, do you use Onyx? Yeah, I use Onyx. Well, then why were you over here?
It sounds like a lot of trespassing.
Yeah. There are a lot of trespassing issues.
What is it about that? I know I said that old thing that old fella said, you know, if it wasn't posted when I was a kid, but you're not always pulling over 60, 80-year-old guys. You're thought one of the dogs got out there for a minute.
No, just me hitting my knee.
So trespassing is that a big one then too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of ORV trespass, a lot of rec trespass.
Yeah, and I mean, we have property, like I said, that only certain people can be on, if any at all. So there's a little piece of property over by me that only certain people are allowed to hunt it, and there's big deer. Huge deer.
Oh, like a Wasapee would be, or Blue Lake or something like that.
That's a huge recreation
right.
trespass.
And then there's camps inside of that. Yep. Like there's a Lutheran camp over the other side of Russell Road. And
yes, they monitor their property really well, but of course, you know, with that much property,
right.
there's only so much that they can do.
Right.
So no, they've given us permission to rec trespass anybody. Because they have it well posted.
You can patrol that property.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, and with that property, like during ice fishing time, there's Turtle Bay there on Big Blue Lake, and people have been going through there from Russell Road to get to Turtle Bay because it's like a mile and a half walk from the actual boat launch. People don't want to do that, and I was talking to people down there. I was like, "You guys know how'd you guys come in here?" Yeah. Like, "Oh, we're parked up on the hill and came through the woods like we normally do." I was like,
"It's not your property."
So you walked right past the no trespassing signs.
Yeah.
Well, I've been doing this for years, and that's like the main thing is, well, my buddy told me who's been doing it for years, so I can do it.
We always do this.
Yeah.
We always do this.
That's a huge excuse.
And something like that, not to get into the details, but you tell them, look, you can't do that again. Is that about what? Or do they end up getting a ticket if somebody didn't complain about them?
I mean, we try to educate as much as we possibly. I think a lot of our job is educating. You know, like I said earlier, we can usually tell if somebody meant to do it, or they really didn't know.
Right.
Yeah. And it kind of depends on how they're treating us. You know, it's a respect thing. Like if you are, you know, calling us everything but the kitchen sink, and then
you get some of that.
It happens. So
I get yelled at quite a bit. I don't know what it is, and I'm just like, "What are you doing?"
the nice one.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop, good cop here.
Yeah, she gets yelled at more than I do. But no, we try to, you know, it's usually a lot of our job is education. If they don't know the law, now they know it. But if we catch you doing it again, okay, that's a different story.
Right.
But and then it's like, well, I've given warnings up to this point, so let people know we're going to start writing tickets because this is a liability.
Well, it's kind of like
person.
when they start giving out tickets on a road, all of a sudden everybody's like, yeah, I guess we better pay attention to the speed limit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, sometimes you got to do a little enforcement to like, hey, it's never been 55 miles an hour here past my shop on Ryerson Road.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But so when you said that people yelling at you, do you get some of that?
Oh, yeah.
I was telling you before we hit record, like I lived in Chicago. We used to use two of my dad's friends' ticket books for get out of jail free cards, and we'd keep up in the dashboard. But we always had this, like, if we did get pulled over, we never felt like, we never sat in the car going like, yeah, check the dashboard out, sir. You know, we were like, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir. I mean, like, mouthing off was like, probably because we'd have got our ass beat, you know, but you get people that'll just start getting your grill like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, it happens.
I had a girl, I guess this would be a good first, and I had a complaint of some lady having turtles that they weren't supposed to have. So I went to her house, and I was like, hey, do you got some turtles? And she's like, yeah, I got some turtles. You want to check them out? I was like, where'd you get these? Oh, I got them from Georgia. I was like, did you get a permit from Georgia to have these? I was like, this kind of looks like a Michigan turtle. I mean, yeah, they probably have them in Georgia, too, or wherever. And she's like, my boyfriend got it. And then I wrote her a ticket, confiscated the turtle she wasn't supposed to have because she also didn't have a fishing license. And it wasn't the season, and they were protected species. So there was a bunch going on. But she was cussing me out, saying I was taking her livelihood and her pets. And I'm like, well, you're not supposed to have these. And then I talked to her boyfriend who supposedly got them. He's like, no, I got those up in Hesperia. I'm like, what?
And she's probably like, what? Yeah. Well, if I told you I did, you wouldn't be selling turtles.
Yeah. So it's just, I mean, she was just yelling at me, and I'm just like, ma'am, you can quit that. just like, stop.
But she wasn't.
No, I just kept standing there. She's like, you can quit smirking at me. And I'm like, I'm not smirking at you. Like, I'm just waiting for you to collect my turtles so I can take them away.
Yeah.
So now you got a bucket of turtles. You got.
I got to bring
Luckily,
to
there are people that are permitted to actually have them.
It'd be funny
Yes.
if you called your sergeant up and said, "Yeah, I just got a call. I got a bucket of turtles." Oh, were you at Mary Bella's house again? I did that when I first got on the force. Yeah, she's been selling turtles illegally for decades. She's just been off the radar for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we bring them to licensed rehabbers so that they can rehab them and release them, or if they're not releasable, they put them into education if they have an education
Right.
permit, or get them to somebody who has an
We
education
literally
Right.
have a list, and we'll say, okay, we have a box turtle. Okay, who is permitted to take a box turtle? Who is
okay.
permitted to take a hawk or a amphibian?
Yeah.
We have an amphibian person. I made somebody cry once, and they cussed me out really bad because I took their raccoon from them. And when I mentioned earlier that this is an issue of people, like we wanted to keep wildlife where it should be,
Right.
and that's actually a really big part of our job. We especially during baby season, so the spring,
Right.
you got baby bunnies running around, you have baby raccoons, baby birds. People want to bring them in their house for I don't know what
they think they're abandoned. But
yeah, like I don't know what
They're not always
entices them that
abandoned.
thinks that that's a good idea, but
Of all the public education over the decades, that hasn't sunk in with anybody.
I don't know. So I mean, there's this one, and this raccoon was living in their house. This was when I was training, so it wasn't in Muskegon County.
Right.
And this.
For those of you who can't see, Jackie's cracking up over here. Jackie's falling off her
This
seat.
was like a nightmare. I literally had to get a search warrant to go and get this raccoon out of this person's house because they wouldn't let me in.
Really?
Like, they would not, because they were, raccoons are like, if you get them from a baby, they can be like a puppy, but at the end of the day, they're still a raccoon. They can,
Right.
they can do some damage, and they carry
definitely
yeah.
do some damage.
So yeah, I get this search warrant, and I feel kind of silly because I just got a search warrant for a raccoon.
You have to call the judge.
Yeah.
Have my PC, I promise. So I go in there. I'm here for the raccoon, and I walk in, and they had a room for the raccoon, and they had dog food, and I look, and there's this. And I kid you not, this thing had to have been 60 pounds.
An obese raccoon.
It was so chubby. It it wouldn't fit in the cage. And when we get off the air, I will show
me
you
a
a
picture.
photo.
Yeah. She sent me a picture of it, and I was like, holy
It
cow.
looks like those cartoon, like if you've ever seen like a kind of like a dramatized cartoon character.
Right. Little head, giant body,
Huge body.
2 little legs sticking out.
That's it couldn't walk. So
technically, they're abusing this animal.
they are making
Yeah.
putting it in a situation where it 100% should not have been in. But I just remember, and they called me everything. I have all their kids out there crying in tears, and I'm taking away their pet. They think I am the devil. So I would say that was.
Oh my God.
That's just one that sticks out to me and kind of scars me.
Scars you.
I have one that scars me with a raccoon as well.
Yeah.
But hers was pretty funny.
Oh man, that was the chubbiest raccoon I've ever seen, and the vet.
Yeah,
What
mine. I got a complaint of some kid possibly raiding a raccoon nest because they were climbing trees and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I go to this little park, and I'm approaching these people, and I'm not seeing any raccoons in the area. And one kid's got his shirt off. There's some girls on the swing set. I'm like, hey, how's it going? And he turns around. This guy with no shirt turns around, and there's a baby raccoon just hanging on his chest. And he's petting it, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, what do you mean? He had no, I was like, what are you doing with that raccoon? Oh, I'm trying to rehab it. I was like, you're not trying to rehab it. And I was like, where'd you get it? Went through the whole process of that. I was like, ask for his name and his
He's not even old enough to have a driver's license, is he?
He was. He was married, but he looked very young, which he was very young. But I told him, I was like, hey, I'm going to have to take that. what does he do? After giving me his name and his birthday and everything, he found out I was going to take it, and he just bolts away from me.
With the raccoon.
With the raccoon. And he's like, you're not taking this, and just bolts away. And I was like, well, I mean, I've got all of his information that I need. Like, I don't need to chase after this guy. And then the girls went, there's like 2 that went after him, and then 2 that went off in another direction. I'm like, what is going on? And then not long after, like, his wife comes out and is like, come back here. So she called him back in. And I was like, you guys can go back to the house, say your goodbyes to it. So I pull up next to this house where they're saying goodbye to this raccoon, and they are letting this raccoon lick inside of their mouths. Like, even the parents of this kid were letting the raccoon just, like, lick.
Like, we love him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just like, no, I mean, I don't even let my dog lick inside my mouth.
No.
That's an accident when that happens, because you're, like, not expecting them to lick.
That's because you fell asleep on the couch, and you're like, get away from my mouth.
Yeah. They're just, like, holding it up, and I was like, that shouldn't, and they're just saying how they want to be rehabbers, and I was like, that's not how you go to be a rehabber.
Oh, my God.
And it's just, I was just like, that's scarring. Like, I don't ever want to see that again with nature.
Is there a statute of limitations for everything? Like, if you hear a story, can I get arrested?
I think it's like 6 years, ain't it?
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because me and my buddies went up.
Of course.
we lived, the only wilderness in Chicago was these 2 cemeteries that were huge. And we decided we were going to have a pet crow. and my buddy Ricky, he got us into he got me into taxidermy. We used to climb up in billboards and take pigeons, which I guess that's probably...
Maybe we didn't do that.
We don't need to hear this.
We were probably trespassing.
Okay.
But I don't think pigeons are protected, at least, right? I don't think. Are they? Okay, maybe so. Anyway, we read some book or, some book in the library. The only books Ricky and I ever read was something to do with animals, period, And so we went out scouting around the cemetery. We used to call the grounds guys cemetery police, but they weren't. They were just the guys who mowed the lawn.
Yeah.
But if they'd see us, they were like, you guys get out of here, And so Ricky had spotted these crows up in this pine tree, and he could climb like a monkey, He'd go up, he saw the eggs, the crows were kind of coming, dive bombing and everything.
Oh, man.
And like, we did not even think this was against the law. Literally, it's not.
Nest robbing.
Right. We did not think like, well, who would be mad at us? We just want a pet crow, right? And I think there was like 5. I don't know if there was 5 or 6 in the nest. And when they hatched, and when they had just a little bit of pin feathers on them, we went up there with a burlap bag.
Oh my God.
He got him in the bag. He handed them down to me. I handed them down to his brother Mikey. And we walked through the cemetery back, after at 4:30. The groundskeepers, we never did figure it out. They were just shift workers, right? We should have hung out in the cemetery more after 4:30, but that was close to dinner. But so anyway, they're two, and it's troubling, not troubling, because it's a kid thing, but so their 2 crows died pretty quick on them, and I kept mine in the closet upstairs I ended up taking my sister's room when she moved out. So I had this like little bit of separation from the parents now. And I named it after this girl I had a crush on because she had black hair. Her name was Lori. Lori Krugman, if you listen by any chance. And I couldn't talk to her. She was just way too pretty. But I named the crow Lori. And so it lived at my house for like 2 years.
Did your parents know?
Yeah. See, I'm telling you, these are parents that went through World War II. This was not a major thing. If your kid wasn't holding up a garage or stealing, well, at least he's busy.
He's got a pet crow.
And the pet crow would come up to the back porch, knock on the door. My mom would give it scraps and everything. So yeah, I was guilty. But can I get a permit to get a crow? Is it possible? Do you know?
I mean,
I wouldn't issue that.
I don't think I would either.
The
But
biologist.
You can get a permit to get a hawk if you are licensed
For falconry.
for falconry.
yeah, I
wanna
don't know
get a
if a crow
hawkery.
cut.
Yeah, I don't think a crow counts under that because there is a crow season. There's not a hawk season.
Right.
Right, there's no hawk
that's
season.
like-
Let's make that clear.
With
No
it
hawk
being
season.
a game animal too, like
Yeah.
that's probably complicates things.
Yeah, complicated. So that's out of the picture.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just coming clean right now.
Oh, yeah.
Just coming.
I have a lot of people that are like, back when I was young, like I did this and this, but I've turned my life around. And
we always go, sure.
I buy my fishing license before I fish now.
Yeah.
So other common ones. So trespassing, a lot of trespassing, baiting, and then
fishing no license.
Come the big holiday in Michigan, November 15th. Yeah. Does it? Are you guys working more hours, or is it just?
Yep.
Yeah, we're usually working early, working late.
Because bird hunters don't violate anything.
Oh, bird hunters are perfect, always.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I would say we never take vacation in November.
Right.
Is just
you got to be
deer season in general. I mean,
right.
you're there, you're working, you're working. So, I would say common issues during deer season, not including like baiting and stuff like that, but I mean tagging issues, licensing issues. Something we find a lot is people buying their tags after the fact, and they don't seem to think that we can see that.
It's like, when did you shoot your deer? Oh, I shot it on November 12th or November 15th, whatever they're shooting it
and
with.
And then they'll show you a picture that's time stamped and it says this time.
You bought your license on November 18th. Why'd you wait like 5 days?
They literally almost incriminate themselves sometimes?
Every time. Yeah, every time. So it's.
And again, these aren't.
We do have to do our due diligence as well.
Right.
And like look into it, but it's amazing how many people incriminate themselves and admit to it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're not planning on incriminating themselves, then they're like, I guess I could have bought the trout stamp. I guess I could have bought the
Thankfully,
bird
the
stamp.
fishing license stuff is all in one now, so all you got to do is buy the one license for that. You
Simplified.
You don't have the muskie license or the stuff like that.
And luckily, we're not too zoned up here in Michigan. Although it's kind of funny, you'd be in the shotgun zone and you'd be in the rifle zone, wouldn't you?
Like half of my section is in the shotgun, and then half is
in the rifle.
Yeah, it's not split our county perfectly in half. Like it's Apple Ave, which is like halfway through my section of the county.
Yeah.
So is that a common one too, with the wrong weapon, or not so much?
I haven't really ran into that much.
See, I thought that would have been the biggie. Like the guy who's real close to the border is like, it's rifle season on that side of the street.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't use a rifle.
Especially with this year though, it was kind of open to everything. So.
Well, with allowing the 450 Bushmaster and the 350, I think the 350 is the new gun, right?
I'd have to check.
But the 450 Bushmaster, people have gotten that, and you can shoot that in the shotgun zone.
In the shotgun zone.
So I think that has opened it quite a bit to people not violating really that.
Right.
I haven't run into that.
I haven't really ever gotten I think I've maybe gotten one.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're in the area and you hear it and you're like, that kind of sounded like a rifle.
Sounds more like a rifle.
So I mean, can you find them? That's the next thing. That's
right.
Then that comes into like trespassing issues. Okay, someone's probably there, but how do I get there? Is the problem.
Right.
So it kind of. Unless you have a legitimate complaint, someone witnessed so-and-so shoot a deer in the shotgun zone with a rifle, and then you can actually see the hole in the deer and do your stuff like that, then, you don't know.
And then, I've only had one complaint, and it was just because he was a concealed carry at the same time. Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, can he carry that? It's like, yeah, you can. If you have that license, you can conceal carry.
Right.
You just can't discharge
just
that.
charge it at a deer.
Yeah.
Right.
So he had a
but
shotgun,
I already
which was
wounded it
legal.
with 3 arrows.
Yeah.
It won't die.
Yeah.
Does that come up in some case, like with car accidents? Do you have to dispatch a deer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And normally, with the police thing, there's just usually some police around that they're closer than we are. So but we assist if we need to.
If they're all tied up and they can't get anyone over there, we'll assist. But we are very grateful for our county, and our dispatch does not send us to every car deer accident to dispatch a deer.
Oh, thank goodness, right?
Yeah. So that's something really good about Muskegon. I know other counties that will dispatch for every car deer, and I think I'd go crazy.
Because in Muskegon County, that's all you'd be doing.
Oh my gosh, it would be all we would be doing. Like sick deer though, that's a whole different story. If somebody has a deer in their backyard that's walking in circles and is mangy looking, that's something else. That's something that we'll want to get tested,
right?
And send over to the biologist in the lab in Lansing. So we will take those complaints gladly.
Right. You want that stuff because you're monitoring the wildlife.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but if it's something that's its limbs are going in different directions and that's on the side of the road. Yeah, okay. You
don't-
can kill that. How about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I would just cut its throat so I didn't discharge accidentally.
Yeah,
you know,
and,
that-
and people do that. Like
Do
they're
they?
like, well, can I shoot it or something? And sometimes we can give people power to shoot it, but if we
Right.
can't get there ourselves, but most people will like slit its throat.
Right. We had to do that with a deer one time. You know?
Yeah. And it's kind
It's
of
like it's the only way to do it. And nobody
Yeah.
had a gun.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I can't stand to see something that's,
Yeah.
as much as I hunt,
yeah.
the worst thing is the wounded.
Yeah, seeing it suffer, for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
That's why we give people permission, because it's like, okay, you're there faster than we are. I'm an hour away, and you're right there, and you're offering to kill it. Absolutely,
Yeah.
put it out of its misery.
Does the department have to do, I don't want to say political correctness training, but like, are they always being aware of like, hey, pay attention to the, like, just go by the rules, or are you taught to kind of just be almost a psychologist to the person, like to try to be really, you don't just walk in here and like, nope, 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 nope.
Oh, it's definitely not a black and white world.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's there's the letter of the law, there's the intent of the law.
Okay.
And we always try to look at like, okay, yeah, technically you did violate the law,
Right.
but did you intend to do it? Was it something like that? Then that's
Right.
where like kind of like the education side
Yeah.
comes in.
And
so
You're
we
just-
interpret that.
And you're just talking. You're not coming into some contact and like, give me your license. I need to see what bait you're using, type of thing.
Right.
You're having a conversation with someone,
Right.
Just like we are right now. It's
Yeah.
you conversate with them. You don't
So
want
maybe
to make.
we are conversation officers.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, they spelled it wrong on your shoulder. It's conversation, not conservation.
But it's you. I mean, you don't go into every contact thinking like, "What am I going to find? Like, I'm going to find something wrong with them." It's
Right.
no. You're going in there to talk to them, see how they're fishing, see what they're
Right.
catching,
Yeah.
and then check their license and check whatever else you're checking for.
Yeah, I would say that's 98% of our contacts. You're just you want to talk to people.
Right.
And
most of
that's-
the time, it's not even a
Yep.
problem.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, most of the time it's not of a problem. I mean, there are those times where you've been, watching this group of people for, the last 4 hours, and there's stuff wrong, and you're just
I
waiting
mean,
for
do
them
you
to
sit? Do you sit on a spotting scope sometimes? Do you have
Like
to?
your body.
all
Yeah.
the time?
Do you really?
Yeah, and that's why it's like people. Jackie and I joke with people a lot. They're like, we never see you in this area. Like we never. I've been fishing here for blah 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 this many years, or I've been hunting this property for this
Right.
many years. I've never seen a DNR officer, and that's what they call us. And I was like, well, sir, we only let you see us when we want to be seen. So that's probably why you've
We're a
never
little
seen it.
sneaky.
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved here, I never hunted deer in Illinois, but I hunted pheasants and rabbits. And I moved here, and the guy that was building my house, I know you'd be familiar with it, right up 120, there's a big, I can't remember the name of it right now, just before you get to Hesperia. Oh, that would almost be out of Muskegon County.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, that's is that Oceana or
past-
Newego? Newego?
Oh, it'd be right if he's
Yeah.
going
It'd be
on the
Oce-
corner,
I think it'd be
right
Oceana.
on the corners.
Okay.
But we're going down the road, and we're going to their camp the night before. It was in the afternoon, and there's a buck standing out in the field. I'm like, he goes, no, that's not a buck. It was a decoy.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, one of you guys are sitting there with a spotting scope, watching car after car after car, go like, oh, brake
Yeah.
lights. We got a dumbass on the radar. But people fall for that, right? I mean,
They do.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, well, it hasn't moved in the last 30 seconds, and it's like, but people don't think about that. When
That
they're
it's
growing up.
opportunity.
Yeah.
That's all.
They lose their brain.
Yeah.
Yes,
They're-
they see antlers and everything else goes out
Right.
the freaking window.
It's even state land, so what's the
Yeah.
difference?
Yeah.
Well, you can't be in the car.
Yeah.
And you can't be standing next to the car.
Well, you can.
Well,
you
yes.
can.
You can be. Can you be on a hardtop? Not on a hardtop road, can you?
If you have permission on both sides, so it depends. If you're in the middle of the road, I believe you have to have permission on both sides of the road. But since if it's a public roadway, yeah, you can shoot from the middle of the road legally.
Wow.
Because the landowner owns until the center of that road.
Right, the 33 feet easement
Yeah.
each way or something like that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the landowner technically owns, and then there's the road.
So, like the
easement,
landowner, if he owned both sides of the road and he was walking down his road, He could
shoot on either side.
Just
Now,
not.
keeping like the safety zone violations
But
too.
not
so.
using the hood of his car, or could he use the hood of his car?
Technically, you're using the motor vehicle.
Oh, see.
And that would bring into like the situation too. Like you'd have to remove that firearm from a case,
Right.
load it up. That deer still needs to be standing there. So
Right.
a lot of the time when we run into like road hunting issues, it's a loaded firearm in a motor vehicle.
Oh,
so
is it?
And they're just
loaded on
popping it
case.
out the window and shooting it.
Right.
And yeah.
This happened before you two joined the ranks of our game wardens in the state. But I'm leaving his name out for 3 reasons. Anyway, this fella, he was known for getting in trouble with the DNR since he was an early teenager. Probably got at some point.
Area?
Yeah, from the area. This is Muskegon County.
Yeah.
We can share the name later just in case, because I bet you there's some award or a plaque up at your office.
They probably have them on like the website. Like,
Right. But
watch the field.
so there's a field out that way, east of here, and it was one of his go-to fields, and you could get it right off the road. There was no ditch, and he'd go out there and jacklight deer, and he'd been caught several times in his life, but somehow alcohol changes
Takes
the
over.
whole level. So you're gonna love this. So one of these guys actually worked for him. The other one worked for me for a couple days. But so one of them was a felon, so he can't be around a gun, and the other one can't drive a vehicle because he's lost his license so many times for drinking and driving. So their philosophy was, well, we'll have the felon drive the car. He's not doing nothing wrong. Still next to a gun, though. Right? And the guy who's the drunk, he'll use the rifle. Well, this, I know
that seems smart.
Yeah.
well, they're thinking. But it's amazing when you're like, again, I'm not saying nobody's getting hurt. Somebody could really get hurt.
Yeah.
But the thought process that goes into breaking the law sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. And that was their thought process. What they didn't know was this one piece of this farm exchanged hands to a person I knew, and he had dug a pond on his property. So the last time this fella tore across when he saw all the lights on, the eyeballs out in the field, this pond didn't exist.
Oh.
And they went right into it. Just like Dukes of Hazzard. Kapoosh. Kapoosh. And they survived the accident, and they were actually, to add like levels of stupidity to it, instead of just like laying low, like reporting the cars, like they didn't know what to do because they've both been in trouble. So, if you meet those, and you've met some repeat offenders, right?
Yeah.
It's like, buddy, you're not a good liar.
Yeah, like, we've been through this before
Right.
so many times.
And actually, you and I have been through this before.
It will be that.
Right.
It is that.
And so their plan in the morning, it was the night before, it was the 14th of November. So it's cold. It's almost always cold out, but this particular year was cold, but, not freezing cold. And so they went back in the morning because they wanted to get their tools and their guns out of the truck. And again, not paying attention to their surroundings, the person who dug the pond can see the pond from their house. So now this person sees people swimming.
Oh, gosh.
November 15th in their pond. And she has to call the police, and then the whole thing went into. But yeah, I mean, dumber than dirt,
Yes, and I'm not going to say any names,
No.
but it's you run into the same people over and over, and it's
Even
like
the same family names, I'll bet sometimes.
Sometimes,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely to that. I mean, you hear the last name, and you're like, where were they? What were they doing?
Yeah.
Okay, or see it on like a taxidermy tag or something like, ooh.
Right.
Yeah,
Is that a
see
big
that.
thing with taxidermy? I mean, is there stuff
we
that
have
happens?
inspections that we have to do.
Yeah, so we do our due diligence of going through the taxidermist and running tags.
Oh, you'll go
to
right
see-
to the taxidermist
'cause
studio.
Yeah, because we have to do inspections on them to make sure that they're like everything's
illegally
right.
taken.
Yeah.
legally
Yeah, and
taken
it's more
deer.
it's inspecting them, making sure that they're keeping proper logs and doing all of that stuff. So it's record keeping,
Checking deer that
making
they have.
sure that if they're taking in deer from other states that they're properly in process.
Oh, sure. Somebody's out of
Yeah.
state comes back and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we come into like the CWD issues, but I mean, yeah, it's or like migratory birds, like you have to
Right.
be specially permitted. So if you see like a like a feather sticking out of a cooler,
Yeah.
like
Might be a
Yeah.
thing.
yeah.
Might be a thing.
Like I mean, I ran so then you just check tags too. You go through the antlers or the mounts, and like I ran one this year and found out that the person was too old for the youth hunt. So we're like, well, I mean, I got to take this deer. This is an illegal deer.
Was it just a year too old?
No, yeah, she was, it
Yeah.
was about a year old.
Yeah.
But like the taxidermist had no idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's not their responsibility to find these illegal deer.
Right.
Or know this stuff. So they just take it in because they're trying to get money, and they.
Yeah, they're
Found
just
'em.
taking a customer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they don't have the computer to do,
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
background
double check
checks.
tags
right,
or
right.
yeah, exactly. Like they're just running their business. So it's,
When it comes to goose and duck for waterfowl, is that something you guys have to go for the federal people for, or is that still your job? to-
So,
we can do that.
and I think that's where people think like we have more powers because we do the federal checks for
Okay.
that because we do manage the waterfowl. Like we go and enforce the waterfowl rules
yeah, like
and all the federal birds.
stamps and everything. You
Right.
know, we'll enforce those.
Is that a
laws.
common one? People didn't get their duck stamp?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a common one, and we enforce that just like any other licensing
Right.
issue. You know, like that is a requirement in
Yeah.
the state of Michigan.
Sorry, I can't let you go on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you
so,
parked in the wrong spot. I can let you go on that one.
Yeah.
You
You,
didn't do-
you launched from an illegal launch, but we're gonna let you
Yeah.
go. It's licensing with I would say waterfowl licensing or waterfowl violations in general, you know, like toxic shock, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
That we rarely get warnings for anything waterfowl
Right,
related.
right.
It is since it is federally regulated. We take all of our waterfowl checks and contacts and
Right.
firearm issues.
So if there's a place to
blood
pay
guns and
attention
such.
to, it's
Yeah.
be a
It's-
waterfowler.
It's
Yeah.
duck and goose season. Yeah, it's we take that very, very seriously. And usually I will say, you know, like a lot of like I said, you know, like the 98% are good contacts. Usually waterfowlers, and I'm gonna probably jinx myself in saying this, but
Knock on wood.
yeah.
Next season's gonna be a bad one for you.
Yeah. Oh boy, maybe I shouldn't. But there are a select few that do have things wrong, and that maybe they're doing it for the first time, and but there are usually a lot of them that know what they're doing,
Yeah.
that do it the right way. You know, they all their shotguns are plugged. Everything's
Right.
They have their shells ready for you to inspect. Like it's usually all well put together. So
Yeah.
There's also a lot that goes into waterfowl hunting, especially if you're hunting like on the water, because you also have to think about the marine regulations and having your life jackets and
Oh,
your
there's all the other
registration.
stuff, just
so
from-
it's like doing waterfowl checks. I feel like is one of our most complicated checks because you're looking at marine
Right.
and also waterfowl, which has a lot to it in general. And
No,
then you
no
got your
PDFs on board. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you gotta think they're in waders,
Right.
and if you go under and you don't have a life vest or something, like
Yeah.
what are you gonna
yeah,
do?
unless you have
Right.
the emergency clamp, like you'll sink. So
Yeah.
and not to mention, I mean, you're like, and I know this has happened to us a couple times. It helps having two people for sure on waterfall check, especially on like big water.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a boat, and you know it might be a little choppy. You're handing around firearms that
Right.
you know could be loaded, could not be loaded. It's not the safest situation. So that's why it's like you got to think about a lot when you're
Yeah.
doing those checks.
Yeah, that would be my only encounter. Well, I had an encounter in South Dakota, but he just saw us getting ready to hunt, and he says, "Just hey guys, super." I mean, he was like ready to give us a spot to hunt. It was a
Yeah.
great game warden.
Yeah.
But he says, "Just gotta," he saw the Michigan plate. He says, "Just gotta check your licenses," and we had permission to go. We knew where we were going. It was private property. We had permission, and I was always in charge of all the paperwork. Like I had the connections out in South Dakota, and I literally had all the licenses in the glove box. I'm like, I cannot forget. Like month that I sent in for him, got everybody's stuff. I said they're all in here, and he says, hey, how's that going? Where are you from? He's just super nice guy. He says, all right. He says, just formality. Let me see your licenses, and my three friends looked at me. I'm like going, glove box. He goes, no, you weren't going to go hunting while the licenses were in the glove box. He says, no, we're just getting ready. All four of us would have been out there
Oh my God.
with the license in the glove box. So,
my
but that
gosh.
brings me around to a question, because this comes up a lot, and I'm sure it comes up a lot with you. If you have it on your phone and your phone's on you, is that okay for a license?
We accept digital.
Okay.
I would say more so with like fishing licenses.
And your base license.
Yeah, because a lot of people are under the impression that they're going to get sent or mailed a hard copy of a fishing license.
Mm-hmm.
But since it's not a kill tag, you don't have to legally affix it to anything.
Right.
You don't have to tag a fish. The PDF
Another layer
version,
of complication.
Yeah, jeez. Hopefully that doesn't. But we will take like the PDF, or like a lot of people will screenshot it on their phones and just pull it up. So
Right.
I've accepted that numerous times. Legally, you have to have it like in your possession or on you, and I mean, I would consider that you have the
On
PDF
you,
available.
I've
so.
had people even taking pictures of the license because they don't like carrying it with them, so they take a picture of it so that they can be like, here, why they want to carry their phone on the water, but not their.
Yeah,
well,
not
I'm
me.
gonna-
Yeah,
Not me.
Yeah, it's kind of like their preference, but it's I mean, that's kind of comes back to like the letter of the law and the intent of the law. Obviously, they have a license, and they just don't feel comfortable bringing it with them or getting it wet or whatever.
I lose everything. I lose everything.
Yeah.
But I don't lose my phone.
Yeah, but you don't lose your phone. Weird.
So with a license, if a person were to, I'm not thinking of trick questions, but thinking of things that happened.
we should have done.
Thinking of things that have happened to me that might have happened more than 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Literally, like my wallet is never out of my front pocket.
Yeah.
Like I can it's just a billfold, and I keep all my licenses in there. You can check. Hey, they're getting out the cuffs, everybody. We're gonna take a pause here. Put that Glock down. But I literally, for some reason, I put on a pair of brush pants, and I went out to right over here, Cedar Creek, right off the road over there. One of my favorite little spots to take an hour walk with the dog, and like I tapped my pocket. I'm like, ugh. I've been out here for half an hour, and I don't have that. So I'm like immediately, it's not in the car. It's in the kennel. Now, if I would have got caught, I was supposed to have that on my person.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a phone picture of it. But I forgot my wallet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Technically,
can you make a judgment call on something like
Yes.
that? Okay.
We can run you through our
and
radio.
and you'll look it up. You can look it
Yep.
up, and there's like, yep, he bought it. He didn't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and like technically you're supposed to have it with you. You're supposed to have your ID with you too, so we can like compare the two.
Right.
and
Yeah, I didn't have an
identify-
ID. I shouldn't have been driving my car.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother issue.
Right.
Right.
So it's like, hey man, you got your license, that's good. They just have it on you. Next.
Yeah. Does alcohol come into play sometimes?
Yeah.
Does it? Do you
Yeah.
have to do roadside stuff or field stuff, or do you have to just make a judgment call on that?
I mean,
We're trained in like field sobriety tests and DUIs and stuff, so we can do that. I mean, I just recently ran into a person who was drunk and he was stuck. I never actually saw him operating.
He was already stuck.
Yeah, his
Kind of like you were on the sand hill.
yeah,
Well-
kind of. I mean, he was also on sand, so
But you weren't drunk.
Yes, I was not drunk, and so like we did field sobriety tests on him, but he refused to do them because he's like, I'm too drunk. So then it was like, well, okay, we're gonna go to jail.
Oh.
yeah,
Do that, but
That changes the shift up for the
Yeah,
day,
I
doesn't
mean,
it
it?
definitely does.
there was also a guy I stopped on a moped, and I didn't even like the way he was swerving and the way he was talking to me. I was like, this guy is way over.
Right.
And then turns out he was really wanted by someone else anyway. So we arrested. I didn't arrested and brought to jail. But then they're like, he's way too drunk. He has to go to the hospital. So,
Really?
and they're like, you didn't even test
Like
him. I
his
was
blood
like,
alcohol level is just
Yeah.
off the.
yeah,
like,
like
they're
you
like-
have drunk and then you have super drunk. I'm
They're-
pretty sure this guy was super drunk.
yeah, they're like, how? Where did you find him? He was driving a moped. I was like, yeah. He was driving a
He was
moped.
like,
He's like
blackout driving,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and I was like, he was
Wow.
only swerving a little bit, and we were going to go around a curve, and I didn't want him getting smucked, so I stopped him.
Right.
And he even said, he's like, I wanted to stop for you, I just didn't know what you were.
Yeah.
So he's like, and that's a lot of things. It's like, well, we pull people over for speeding or something. Like, well, you can't pull me over. We just did.
See, the lights went on,
Yeah.
and then you pulled over,
Yeah.
And then
I
we
walked.
walked up to your car. And see, that's how that works.
So it's like, I mean, this guy had
But
ran
you
into
don't
the
patrol
lot.
for speeding.
No.
But if it comes up,
Yeah.
We run into it.
right,
Yeah.
you run into it.
We will have radar units set up in our trucks. So in that officer, whoever has the radar unit, they can request one. depending on how much they want to work general criminal stuff. So it's kind of up to them. It's up to the officer. They can, I mean, technically we can go jump on an expressway and work speeders if we really wanted to.
But you got many other things to do.
We have other
Trying
things.
to keep wildlife in wild places is the goal here.
Yes.
That's what the state boys. That's what the MSP's for.
That's
is
right.
On the roads.
Let them do that.
Yeah.
Right.
At least you guys don't wear those Mountie hats, do you?
No.
Oh, no.
Because
we
that's
don't have
I'm
those.
sorry, that's scary. It looks like a Marine drill sergeant
We have our
walking up
Garrison
to your.
hats, and those are hard enough to keep on my head. So
We like our ball caps.
yeah,
That's
and then
it,
we have
just
our
a ball
cap.
cap.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you see this, for some reason that puts fear in the heart of. For some reason, that hat with that stiff brim is
yeah.
just
Oh,
right out of a
God.
drill sergeant movie, and you're like going, "There's something wrong in my truck." I missed my blinker, but I'm gonna get a ticket.
Yeah.
They scare like I was pulled over. You can check on your computer later. I have a very good record. I think I went through 2 stop signs in my life that in Whitehall.
Oh, jeez.
So
Yes.
you're already
Yeah.
winking at me there.
Yeah.
And I did get a ticket for it, but even like when I get pulled over by like a Whitehall, let's say Whitehall or Montague,
Yeah.
it's like what? But you see that state cop come up to you.
Yeah,
It's just I'm shaking in my boots.
Yep.
I feel like I'm at at the conveyor belt on that story I told you about.
Right. And
Yeah.
most of the time, I'm sure it's you're not doing a whole lot,
No.
but they're kind of intimidating.
So I'm
sometimes.
glad I don't give you those hats.
No,
No.
we don't have those hats.
Right.
I had a guy actually in Twin Lake. This happened in Twin Lake.
A lot of stuff happens in Twin Lake.
When I did
Holton.
see your address, I'm like, gosh, we're going to Twin Lake. This is going to be interesting. No, this guy so golf carts around here, like that's a big thing, and we really been.
Those aren't allowed either. So
Right.
RVs aren't.
Just-
golf carts aren't
Just
either.
to make it clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy, I think I was riding with my sergeant too, and we just driving, just kind of cutting through some roads, and I think we just passed like some ORV, just got done stopping some ORVs. So I'm like, I'm driving. This doesn't sound very safe, but I'm driving and I glass somebody, and I'm like, that's a golf cart. So I pull up to this golf cart, and he pulls into a driveway. I pull up behind him, and he won't even look at me. His eyes are like straight forward, and my sergeant's on the other side of him, and he's like, "What the hell? What's wrong with this guy?" And I see like there's a beer in his fridge.
Yeah. Well, they put the beer holder in there for the golf course.
Yeah.
See?
And I'm like, sir, those aren't, allowed per ordinance, and per the state, you can't have those on the side of the road. It's not a SOS vehicle. And he just kept staring forward. He would not. And then I looked at his buddy, and he just shrugged his shoulders, like, I don't know. I'm like, have you been drinking? A little bit. And
Still not looking at you.
yeah, no, still won't look at me.
Yeah.
Just totally tried to avoid the whole thing. And that was a really interesting contact. But no, we encounter drunks, and very rarely we'll encounter drugs.
Right.
Luckily, we have people that will help us with that, because it's not something we do a lot.
Right.
So if we do run into a drunk, we can usually radio dispatch and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I need a unit out here to help me."
That's what
Right.
I did with mine too.
And that's
Right.
and that is something that they are more than happy to help us with.
Right.
So again, we're lucky here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go get the raccoon off the guy with the swing.
Yeah.
And
They're like, well, next time I have a problem, I expect that I can call you. And
yeah,
absolutely.
we've this road has a pipeline right back here, the gas
Yeah.
pipeline.
Yeah.
And since I've lived here, it's the only bane of my existence.
Probably
Because-
ORVs and stuff going through it.
And I've actually stopped people and said, look, you're not supposed to be here unless you have a gas company
Logo,
truck
yeah.
logo. It's them or me are supposed to be on this property, and my 15 acres hits it at a really long angle, so I've got like 700 feet of frontage on it.
Oh, well.
And it's the ones with the motorcycles go wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah.
sitting here on a summer day, and I'm hearing wah, wah, wah. I've gone back there, and most of them will just kick sand and go.
Yeah.
We have our numbers now. You can call
Well,
us.
but I've like literally, I've tried to stop them, and it's just they're like, my dad used to come back here. I know everybody's dad apparently came back here, but there's a gate, and you just made a new path
Around the gate.
through the
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah.
And I used to put logs down, and but I had a lot of kids would come back. They call it Chicken Hill back there, and so a lot of cars would go back there at night. And I know what they're doing. They're just going back there to drink or make out or whatever they're doing, right? I was in Chicago. I had to drive all the way to Maple Island, or Maple Island Lake is not Maple Island Road.
Right.
It was actually Maple Island Lake. And so I don't really care. Like, my wife will see headlights, and she goes, "You want to go back to this?" No. You see the headlights go, and they're gone. They're not loud. But this one night, all of a sudden you're hearing the laugh and then this and that. I don't know if they're in a convertible or if they're all in the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah, the sound travels so differently.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. You can hear them talking.
Yes.
Like they're, what would that be, 200 yards away? And I could hear them going, "Well, no, go here. No, turn left here. No, straight up." I'm hearing all this. I'm like, all right, I don't want somebody back there that's really partying, right?
Yeah.
Or
And
at
hurting
least-
themselves.
Right.
That's a huge
Oh,
liability.
yeah, and then I'll
thing
get
for
in
them.
trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget. I went back there, and I had just cut some trees down. And I took a lifting sling, and I literally took this tree, and I had every bit of gur I had, and I went, and this 30, 40-foot tree, I just turned it perpendicular to the trail. So when they came back from doing whatever they were doing, we're sitting out on the pool deck, just having a drink, and here comes the lights, and you can hear them going like, "What's that? Where did you go? You didn't take the right turn."
Oh my gosh.
They're so confused.
And those lights wandered through the woods. I don't know how they got out of here.
Oh my God.
They found some way, and I know they had to go through. At that point, they came out in someone's driveway and yard from the back way. I guarantee
They
it.
trespassed on somebody
Right.
else's property.
They weren't using Onyx that night.
They were
I
not
can tell you
using
that.
Onyx.
See, and that's another thing we have is like trespass, not necessarily just ORV, but just regular trespass on the utility pipelines.
Yeah.
Consumers, DTE.
Yeah, I mean, they will specifically call us. I will get messages, license plates, because up on the north side of the county, we have like a beautiful trout stream but it's right at the end of a utility right of way, you
Right.
know, and it's of course people are going to use that to get to that, and it's so it's I'll get sent license plates, and it's,
You have to follow up on that.
absolutely
Yeah.
you if
Does the person deny it too? Like, I wasn't there?
so and so was driving my car.
Well, then get so-and-so on the phone here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, they usually they fess up to it, and it's just a conversation at that point. So it's I mean, it kind of comes into the whole thing, like, okay, was I there? Did I witness them do this?
Right.
Like that situation. But it's utility right of ways. That's a big thing for
Right.
ORVs. They love them. Power lines. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like they can't resist.
Well, no,
And they're,
it's
but
there.
they're not
There,
allowed.
yeah,
Well-
like it's. I mean, even going past like the no trespassing signs, but it's.
Isn't that funny? It must be legal because there's 2 tire
Yeah.
tracks around the gate.
Yeah.
Well, then it must be open.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they did it.
There's a
you
gate
know?
here. Oh, people just go around it. Like it's just
Right.
there for
I
formality.
didn't open
Yeah.
the gate.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for not opening the gate.
Yes. It's a big liability thing for those big companies, so they want us out there.
Yeah. And it's not that complicated to pay attention, but I don't mean a little infraction, but you can tell a mistake from
Yeah.
an ignorance of the law.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You can tell when someone's lost and they're like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be
It
right
happened
now.
to me once out in
Like I
Manistee.
started here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and my buddy went out in a Jeep. It had an ORV.
Yeah.
And it was a street legal Jeep, and we just went out on
I
some.
love how he explained
Yeah.
that.
See?
Street
See?
legal.
Look at
street
me.
legal.
Had a license plate.
Please
and
don't-
it had
Had ORV
stickers.
stickers.
Okay.
I ad-libbed all that. Anyway, we got turned around out there, and I actually had a knock on a door, and the lady said, "Yeah, go around this thing and go around that." And,
And when the sun goes down, I mean, it's you completely. At least I do sometimes. Like my
It
sense
changes.
of direction, especially
Oh, yeah.
if you're in the national forest and
Right.
you're on those forest roads. Like if I didn't have Onyx, like I'm literally looking at it as I'm driving because
Right,
I
like-
can't see, what
No
the
reference
difference
to
is
sun, no
between.
reference
Yeah.
And like one benefit we have Wi-Fi in our truck. So like even though we may not have service, we have a little
Oh,
booster so
I didn't
that
know
we
that.
can at least get Wi-Fi to get Onyx, whereas other people don't have service in that
Right,
area.
and they didn't think of downloading it ahead of
Yeah.
time or anything.
Right,
So you
yes.
have a literal Wi-Fi hotspot.
We have to because like
I need to get
are
one
in.
of them. Can I get one of them? Is that something you can buy
They're a
with an
pain in the
employee?
butt to put in your truck. So no.
Can I get an employee discount on one of them things? That'd be kind of nice.
It puts a big like circle on the top of your hood.
No,
on
actually,
top
that
of your
would be good because then when I
cosmetic.
do go on a hunting trip, I can't tell my wife that I don't have cell service. So maybe that's not the plan. I gotta think about these things before I say it.
Yeah, there you go. It is convenient though because I mean we're in a lot of areas where we lose service almost immediately, and we always have something that we can connect to. So
And like in the UP, some of those places that the Wi-Fi doesn't even work, like that booster doesn't work, so they got to get like extra boosters on top of that. And
Yeah.
Just
Jackie, do you ever have a thought process of like, I'm gonna go back up to the UP and be the game warden?
I had that thought. So I was originally located in St. Joseph County on the Indiana border. So I had put in for transfer while I was in probationary training, but I was assigned to St. Joseph County, so I spent like 2 weeks in there before I got an offer to move up to Muskegon County. And I know Anna had already accepted there and been up there because she was originally assigned Cass County, which were right next to each other.
Right.
So she didn't even go there before she came here.
Yeah.
And
So classmates are following each other.
Yeah, no, that's legitimately what happened.
But I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like I can work my way back up into the UP or close to the UP, so I'm close to home. But I really enjoy Muskegon County. I mean, I've met somebody here that is rooted here, and I just see us staying here unless like something major happens. But this is a highly sought after county actually by game wardens.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Very.
there's actually quite a few that have approached me
Well,
like
I guess you got the river
believe
flats and the lakes.
Yeah.
and
you have tribal land, federal.
we have
property.
tribal land here.
Oh yeah.
Where's that at?
I mean,
everywhere.
Yeah. No, but like
Did I ask that question?
we have it all here though. We have big water, we have little inland lakes, we have rivers.
Yeah.
And it's just we have those seasons as well. So it's a big variation, and there's been CEOs like, I can't believe you got that county and you're just starting out, and how did you get that?
Right.
It's like, I don't know, I just put in for transfer and by magic they were
Somebody was
retiring.
retiring or something. Yeah.
Both of the officers here before us, they both retired almost at the same time. So, and they were hard chargers. They were hard workers. So, kind of big boots to fill. But we were both supposed to be in Cass and St. Joe County on the Indiana border, and I
That would be more meth down there, wouldn't it?
We're basically in Indiana. Well, in Cass County, where I was supposed to be, I remember when I got assigned it, they're like, well, the only thing down there is pig farmers. So how do you feel about the smell of pig manure? And I'm like, well, I'm not a huge fan, but I mean, whatever. So I knew that I didn't want to stay down there. So before I even worked a day in Cass County, I put in for transfer just because I wanted to get on the transfer list. And,
Right.
And
you're from this area.
And
so.
I'm from this area, so this is like I'm going to stay in Muskegon.
Right.
So then I think a lot of people in our class too, they saw us transfer so fast that they're just like, oh my gosh, well, we want to get on the transfer list. So,
Yeah.
But no, we were blessed in the sense that we got moved almost immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was glad to go to St. Joseph County because that's where I used to I used to work in St. Joseph County before I moved to.
With your other career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew a lot of people in there.
Go back and give them some tickets.
Yeah, exactly. I worked in a big
Even
plant
with my
of like
CEO.
1,400 people that lived in that area. So it's like, I know they're not all like hunky dory. I know
Right.
there's some, but I was glad to move up because I was going to slowly move up the state, and I just really like it here. Like I have people.
She likes having me as a partner.
I do. I do really enjoy Anna being as my partner.
Yeah, going through the academy together and then being able to work in the same area and call each other up.
We have so lucky.
Which
We
is
have a
probably
really
also
good chemistry, like with working together.
Yeah,
and it's like
she's
we
the
don't hate
bad
each
cop, you're the good cop. We got that established.
Yeah, we have methods when we go into situations like, hey, you're going to say this, I'm going to say this. Cool. All right.
But I feel like we work really well together. If one of us doesn't know it, the other one does. So
Right.
we like different things. Like she likes deer hunting, I like trapping. So she comes to me if she gets a trapping complaint. I get
Really?
Always.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so
Jackie,
much
yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah. How deep does this 30 have to be?
What's the legal beaver set again? I passed it in class, but
Yeah. So, I mean, there's not many people that trapping is a dying thing. So
Oh,
there's
it
not
is.
many
That's pretty
people
cool.
that don't really know stuff about it. And I got into trapping because of this job.
Really?
Like my step 2 instructor, Ethan Mapes, he got me into trapping. He's like, we're not just going to discuss this over paper. We're not going to go over this topic on paper.
We're going to go trap.
We're going to go do it. And we set up some traps, and he's like, it's like Christmas morning. You're either really excited
Yeah.
or really disappointed
Right.
when you go and check those traps. And that is the perfect analogy for that. Because
Right.
every time I go check my traps, I'm like, what am I going to get? Like, what is it? What am I going to have? And like this year was a great year for me. Last year was a great year too. But this year I got last year I got a incidental otter, so I had to turn that one over. But got that, which is crazy.
What's the line on otter? Isn't it close to here? Like you can get one otter?
It's M120.
M120.
You can get 2 now in C.
Okay.
You can get
What's that?
3 in B and 4 in A. But yeah, so it's like catching that, and then this year I got an incidental bobcat, so I'm like, oh, now I'm gonna go target bobcat in that area,
Yeah.
and it's just like evolving into different parts of the trapping part. So.
That's
and then I have
trapping.
all these people because I'm a female. There's not many female trappers. There
I don't
are,
think there
but
are any. No.
Yeah,
Obviously,
and-
you've probably been associated with a few now, but
I do know a few, but they're also game wardens.
really?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, good to know somebody's trapping something out there.
Yeah.
They're on, and it's opened my eyes to like a whole new like little community. Like I've learned that every single trapper, and I don't know if this is the same with like the bird hunting community, but I know it's not the same for the deer hunting community. But it is such a small group of people,
Right.
that everybody knows where everybody's trapping. You know, they know what they've already gotten. They know what they can get. They know what their sets look
Real
like.
nice
they know what
network
their-
Yeah.
of,
yeah,
of
like
communication.
it is like
Yeah.
it is, but it's almost kind of like.
Well, I'm not going to
can
turn
be
that.
a-
I'm not going to. You have to go find that. I'm not going to say their name. You have to go find it. I
Yeah.
know there's something illegal out there. That's the tips I get.
Yeah.
It's like there's something illegal out there in this general area, but I'm not going to say who it is. I know who it is.
But-
Because like those trappers are out there and they see each other,
Right.
but
Yeah.
they don't want to rat each other out to the extent of saying
Right.
each
But
other's
they also
names.
be like, they're holding their feet to the fire a little bit
Yeah.
by saying, look.
If I can't do that, how come they
Right,
can?
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what it comes down to a lot
Yeah,
of.
you're
it,
right.
you know?
That wouldn't happen in the deer hunting community, boy. They rat out.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
It's
well,
just like,
that's
this-
what it is.
They'd be like
too.
the
My neighbor
McCoys and
did that. So
Yeah.
it's and then I've had a lot of support from fellow trappers in the county, like
Yeah.
just helping me like learn it because I've only been doing it 2.5 years now.
Right. What
So-
would, do you do a lot of muskrat trapping too?
Yeah, I did a lot of muskrat trapping last year, and then this year I focused on beaver and otter, and then next year I'm gonna. Now that I know the prices of muskrat, maybe they'll still be as nice.
Are prices going up?
They were between $330 from what I saw and $550.
That's not bad. I
No.
mean, not for muskrat.
No, I know a guy that got like 750 muskrats. That's a
And if
that's
you
a nice
think about
payday.
it, like a retired guy, like I mean, that's like a form of income for some people.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
You're making a lot of money for just a little trap that you just set out. You
Yeah.
know, like
Right.
that's and
And most of that
the
is like
time-
raw, like in the round.
Right.
It's just that's the
like
price.
full carcass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow, just put them in the freezer and sell them off.
yeah.
Yeah. Savannah Fur Market.
But I did really well with my beavers. I'm trying to make a beaver blanket. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get the bigger beavers, and like me and a friend, we got this gorgeous. He's like, we'll pull our traps and you can have whatever we pull. And we pulled out this gorgeous black beaver.
Wow.
And he's like, you got to make that the center of your blanket. Like you can't just throw that away. And I'm like, oh, don't worry, that's gonna go in the centerpiece.
So you'll
of
set it out somewhere and they'll create the blanket for it?
Yeah, I got to get enough like large beavers to create the
Can't
blanket.
just use a little small? It just wouldn't look right?
It just takes so many more
Yeah.
little beavers. So
Yeah.
you want those big
What's a
blanket
big beaver?
beavers.
60 pounds?
My biggest one was 51.8 pounds this year.
And that's
That's a big beaver.
that's right up there.
Yeah, that's a big beaver.
I do know a guy that got like some 65-pound ones, which is huge, and just like, where did you get that?
Well,
Like,
it was
that's been
probably.
there for a while.
I know
Yeah.
where they got that 65-pound beaver.
Where they're not supposed to.
No, from the lady who made the raccoon obese. She's probably feeding
Yeah.
beavers behind her
Beaver,
property.
that's what she's doing.
And she's figured out a way that like they like dog kibble as well as
Yeah.
bark or something.
Oh
it's
my
her
gosh.
fault.
Yeah, I got
In fact,
like
I think
kind
you
of
should check out her house again.
I got
That's a good idea.
I got about
Obese
five beavers that were 47 and over this
Wow.
year.
Those are brutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really excited. So.
Yeah.
And Anna, you like to deer hunt.
Yes, that is what I grew up doing.
Do you travel for it, or you do it right here in your home?
No, I do it
home
right
county?
here. Actually, I hunt Oceana County.
Do
so,
you?
Yeah, I won't tell you where, but
No, that's okay. I'm sure it's one of them little pieces of state land that you can find on Onyx.
Ooh, yeah, no.
Not going to say either way here.
And that's a weird thing. We've been going. Are you guys good on time here?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, because usually we cut it short. It's just too much fun
Yeah, no,
asking questions.
that's fine.
And nobody usually gets to spend like an hour and a half talking to a
Yeah.
couple game wardens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've already confessed about the crow. I feel a lot better.
You've confessed your sins.
But like, there's a couple little chunks of in the Manistee, especially. There's like some little almost isolated pieces that you can't get access to.
Yeah.
Is there?
I know the piece of property you're
You
talking
probably
about.
know where I'm talking north of here a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you have to get permission to cross somebody's property to
Yeah.
get to that. There is no legal easement, even if it is landlocked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
So
Right.
yeah, and
'Cause
I've,
I think
I've
there's
gotten,
grouse in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know, and like
Sometimes there are easements, but
It's not.
yeah.
It's not marked, maybe.
Yeah.
yeah, and finding them is going to be the biggest issue. But I've had so many people approach me about those properties,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that there's stuff in there, but you can't get to it. It's almost like every single property owner around there, they got together and they're
Right.
like, hey, we're not going to let anybody in here.
Right. Nobody.
Yeah, nobody can enter. So
Because they all just added,
Yes.
X amount of acres to their recreation. back there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So-
Or there's no forest roads allocated for that chunk.
and that's the
So-
case a lot.
Like what is there? There's a couple parcels on Dalson, I think, just north of River Road that technically there's no forest roads designated on those properties, but there's trails that people are going on.
Right.
So if we find people out there, we can write them a ticket
Right.
essentially for trespassing because
Because there wasn't a legal.
Yeah.
no legal right of way to
Right.
drive there.
Right.
So it's like whether it's trespassing or driving in an area you're not supposed to.
Right.
Yeah,
something
but
like
I do know those properties you're talking about, and yeah, a lot of people want to get in there.
I think, could we just go scout a little bit? Just a little scouting?
Yeah, because us knocking on some doors to ask for permission,
No,
is a
I
little
don't think.
different.
I don't think that's taking advantage of a favor.
I've seen plenty grouse come out of the Jennings farm. That's actually in Newego County, but there's been quite a few that I've seen come
I
out
was
there.
just at the Jennings farm.
Yeah?
We went with a bird bander, a woodcock bander.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
And-
I've seen a lot of woodcock come out there too.
Yeah. That's a neat place when I discovered that one. Although that was also my first. I tried deer hunting a little bit, but it's just not for me because you're not supposed to bring dogs.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
and the
front
dogs
one.
look at me. The dogs look at me like, "Well, we're not going." I said, "It's closed for 2 weeks. Relax."
Yeah, chill.
But I went out to that Jennings farm real long time ago, and I got there real early. I'm like, I'm gonna go see if because I've grouse hunted out there, and I was like, there goes those big fields. I'm like, this should be a good spot to. And I don't know anything about deer hunting. I really don't. I've shot 2 in my life, and one was inside of a fence.
No.
Somebody paid for me to go on a hunt.
Yeah.
And but I went out there, and it was all of a sudden it's like car.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, can't all be walking in the same spot, And I'm thinking I'll go back to one of my grouse spots, and then all of a sudden flashlights come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I turn around. I went back to my truck. I went home. I never did deer hunt there.
I did that this year for like late season. No, it was like right before the end of firearms season. Walked out there. We're like, there's no way someone's gonna be hunting out here. Mm-hmm. And then it's like every time we turn, there's a blind, and we're like, how are people hunting this close together?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
scary.
yeah, they're like sitting.
And
on
that's
top of
rifle
each other.
zone.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I'd rather be not shot with, but I'm guessing I'd rather.
Better be wearing orange. Yeah.
Better
like
be.
that is.
Is that enough? Well, probably let's wrap it up with that. Maybe the orange thing. I had a friend that really got me into grouse hunting here when I got here,
Yeah.
and he hated the regulation. I was like, why? It's a grouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get the people who like try to keep it minimal, like for rifle season, or is everybody more safety minded?
I don't know. I feel like we have a lot of people that they don't know, like, so they don't realize that there's actually like season dates for like certain dates for wearing hunter's orange
Right.
but there are exceptions to it, just like you said. So I think it depends.
Yeah.
You have those people that are really safety minded, like they are hunting public land. They
Yeah.
want to be wearing hunter's orange because they don't want to be shot. Like, and we've heard stories,
Yeah.
people do get shot.
Yeah.
Now is And it happens on public land. So we usually never give warnings for hunter's orange.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that is something we really enforce. But
If you need to have orange on, damn well better have some orange on.
you better have
Yeah.
it on.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of people that carry backpacks and cover up their orange, and they don't realize that they're covering that up.
Right.
But then, like a hunter will see something moving, and
Yeah.
they'll shoot at. I mean, you should never do that. You should
Right.
you should be sure of your target. But that's just the mindset. Oh, there's
Right.
a deer. Like shoot at it. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Right.
well, that person had a backpack. They should have put the orange over their backpack or put something
Right.
orange on their
right,
backpack.
or they'll be in their tree stand and they'll immediately take off, their cap, their vest, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
they're wearing, and that's obviously not what the purpose of the law is. So
yeah. Yeah.
Purpose wasn't to say wear orange while walking.
Yeah.
like,
It's
that's
while you're
not what it's-
hunting.
Yeah.
Unless you're home, you're hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they better have it on while they're in their tree stand as well. And a lot of people, they think, well, I'm where I need to be. I'm covered.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But
Yeah. A few tickets written for that on occasion.
yeah, it
Yeah.
happens, especially
Yeah.
when you can see them like from your truck. You're like,
That's the best
definitely
part.
not wearing orange. Okay, and that gives you all the reason to go up to them. So
Yeah.
that's legitimate.
I mean, we recommend wearing orange like for hikers. We
yeah.
highly recommend,
Oh my
especially
God, yeah.
during
Especially
these
turkey
seasons.
season?
Yeah, turkey season and
People
just,
shoot anything thinking it's a turkey.
Yeah, yeah.
A little hard
So,
to say that on a grouse, but
but it's just like people are so sometimes resistant to wearing it. It's like, do you really want to put yourself in that situation, walking out into these state
Right.
lands? And
my wife won't walk the corgi out in the backyard without
Yeah.
orange on in November.
yeah,
Exactly.
And I won't let her.
Yeah.
But she'll literally ask me right around when it starts getting chilly. She goes, "When do I got?" I said, "Just you know what? Start wearing it early.
yeah,
Yes.
Just start wearing it a little early. You're only walking your dog. You're on our property.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean
No one's
anything."
No,
Here
I mean,
anyway, but-
we had 600 acres in the UP that we would ride our horses on. And
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we'd go over to the neighbors and we knew when they were home and when they weren't, but we don't know who else is coming onto those lands. So
Right.
we put orange on the horses so
Right.
that it's like, hey, we were orange ourselves and
Right.
we weren't taking our chances to
Yeah.
get
It's like
shot.
wearing a helmet, right? Just
Yeah.
wear the damn helmet.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, is it really that big of a nuisance?
I'd rather not see you with your head cut open.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
on the side of the road.
That's icky.
Yeah.
That's icky.
No thanks.
Well, Jackie and Anna, this has been. Do citizens ever get to ride along for like what the cops do?
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the
I mean,
next.
usually they're interested in a position,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think in the name of like getting good press and good PR for the department, I'll bring the recorder sometime. One of you guys pick me up for a patrol.
maybe if you start working for Wardens
Yeah.
TV show.
Yeah, we have our own
Oh.
TV show.
You do?
Yeah, on the Outdoor Channel.
For Michigan Wardens?
Yep. It's called
See,
Wardens.
They ride
I-
with us all the time.
I
Well,
don't-
not with us personally.
Yeah,
but
and right now because of COVID, they've been riding with.
Well,
I think
that's
they've been riding in another car
separate.
or something. But
I'll sit on the hood. I don't care.
There you go.
yeah, right now we're not allowed to do ride-alongs because of COVID. So
Well, let
until
me
that
know
comes down,
when the restrictions are lifted. I don't want to go out there in deer season.
that's
Like,
that's our best time.
Yeah,
though.
but-
You want to.
Yeah, because like we're
Okay.
checking waterfowlers, we're checking fishermen.
All
like-
right. Well, then let's
checking
say
deer
when
hunters.
COVID's up, we'll do a podcast for one or both of you out in the field,
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
as long as we okay it with the boss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just got.
And what's your you said your supervisor's name is or
Jeff
he-
Rabbers?
Jeff?
Sergeant. Yep.
Yep.
And he's got a bird dog.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's
And he
tell
listens
Jeff,
to you.
because he's going to listen
yeah.
to this, that the next interview I do with the Michigan conversation officers. Now every time I look at that, I see conversation instead of conservation.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I want to come and interview him, and if he's got a bird dog, I'm sure he can have a few stories of Michiganders and probably back in the day. But is he? I hate to say it, Jeff. Is he steering a desk all the time?
No.
He gets out in the field.
Yeah,
with us,
he gets to
and
get
it's
out in the
fun.
field and have some fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's fun. So
Yeah, he was just I was just on the phone with him, and he was telling me about you, a little bit more about you, and he's like, oh yeah, he does training, he does all that, and I'm like, wow, you do listen to him.
He must. Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you, ladies, for coming over today. It's
Yeah.
really cool. Any advice to anybody other than read your regs, put your orange on, and get your Onyx map? Maybe that'd help a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
I mean-
there you go. I think that kind of summed it all up pretty well. But
No reason to be scared of you guys
There's no
No.
reason to be scared.
until you start wearing them Smokey the Bear hats. All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
thank you.